Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode with your boy Lewis. Shout out to the LSM Mod Squad up in the building. It is your boy on the Lewis Sports Network coming right back at you once again with another heavy hitter banger with yet another video. Make sure to smash the like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure your notifications are turned on. Make sure you guys are sharing this on your social media outlets and on also Reddit. I truly appreciate it. It is Friday. Hope everybody is being safe. Hope everybody has had a wonderful week. Whether it's been wonderful, whether it's been tough, we can all talk about it here on the Lewis Sports Network. So again, shout out to everybody in the chat. I have two special guests coming in, and we're supposed to be talking about the 1-2-16 NBA playoff format, which would be G Money and Pete. So as they get ready to come on in, let me just know who is in here, and make sure you guys are already smashing a like, and let's continue to spread awareness with this channel, man, and let's get the views up, man, because again, we got a lot of things coming, man. And like I said, man, I really want this channel to spread. So, I truly appreciate you guys for always taking the time to not only watch my videos, but share them, like them, and letting other people know about the channel. And who was saying, hey, bro, how you doing? I already sent that. Shout out to Daniel. What's good, bro? Shout out to Karam. What's going on? I appreciate you calling me the GOAT. You're the GOAT for even coming to this stream. Shout out to Ryan, man. What's good, bro? And let's see who we got. Okay, so I got G Money in the background, so all good. Uh, so just give me a second. Shout out to Lowly One who's listening in. Appreciate it. Again, continue to smash the like, hit that subscribe, and continue to share this on your social media. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get in there. Shout out to Sly in the build. Appreciate it, man. G Money. And let's get the views up, man, because for some reason, and if you guys haven't, shout out to Joel. Shout out to Sam G. Um, and I'll check you out, Sam G, in a second on what you were saying. But without further ado, welcome to G Money. G Money, how are you? How is your week going? And how is your Friday going, man? Welcome to the stream.
I'm doing great, man. Just came back from Bronx, doing errands with my dad. Everything's going fine. I just can't wait for the 1-16 seeding playoff stream to start.
Awesome, good. And I just want to get some news out the way really quick. It was reported that Adam Silver said that the original idea for this format, and to some people's surprise, if nobody found out, was MJ, Michael Jordan. So I didn't even know that this was actually his idea. So if you guys actually want to thank for basketball and part of the reason for coming back, got to thank MJ because this was actually actually wanted this thing to be gimmicky. If you guys go to clutchpoints.com, there is an article. You guys can read it. I'll try to find the link and then I'll just pretty much put it in the chat. I'm actually going to put the chat. I'm sorry. I'm going to, and that's Kobe's iconic alley-oop pass to Shaq, which was yesterday, June 4th, 2000, marked 20 years to the day of Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. And I forgot to put it yesterday because I was originally going to put it yesterday, but I decided to put it today just because of how good it looked. And it was awesome. So I decided to create this thumbnail for you guys and put the video. So I hope you guys enjoy it. So I'm just going to share the link and I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm going to check in the chat as well. Shout out to the sports critic already. Appreciate it. Good question. Yeah, I was saying that the same thing, but I guess it was for basketball reasons. I don't even know why he decided to do that. But if you guys can, man, make sure you guys go check out the link that I put up in the chat and, give it a thumbs up and just give your views on it. So let me check out Sam G's real quick. Again, shout out to everybody coming in before we get started. Hopefully, P can join us. Okay, Sam G says, I just saw a report that KD and Kyrie are coming back 4 to 5 games into the 8-game schedule. He's not a famous reporter, but he tweeted out the offseason schedule before watch. Listen, I know people are going to be mixed about that, but quite honestly, I think for the 2020-2021 season, I think from a reps standpoint, it would be good for Kyrie and for Kevin Durant to get a feel for the game back again, even though, again, you're probably risking a chance to get injured, whatever the case may be. All right, shout out to Joel. Shout out to Ryan again. Again, shout out to Sports Critic. Again, shout out to Ryan. Okay, G Money. So let us get started. If we look at the 16 best records in the NBA, which would be for both the East and the West, obviously. Now we have to figure out what's it going to be like once Let me just check. Let me just check real quick. No, no. Let me see. They 50, yeah. Even 50 win, showing best records of even all time like during the season, which is weird. But all right, so they go to standings by day. I think we got our other special guest. That's right. Shout out to Duality, Pete, man. What's going on, bro? Welcome to the stream. How's everything with you, man?
What's up, my brothers?
What's up, Pete?
G Money,
What's
how
going
are
on? What's going on?
you?
Doing great, thank you. You?
Not can't complain.
Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna go to the NBA standings right now. So if we're talking NBA playoffs, we have the 1 through 16 format. If we was just to go to the playoffs, and this is without the teams uh, battling it out for that last and final playoff spot. And I'm talking about the four teams, the five teams that are behind Memphis in the West, and then you got the Wizards in the Eastern Conference. Uh, so the 1 through 16 matchup would definitely be the. We would start with the Bucks, and we would start with the Magic. Now, in your personal opinion, how do you see that matchup going, and what should we look out for in the 1 versus 16 matchup if the playoffs were to start today? Anybody could chime in.
You want to go first, Pete?
No, G Money, it's all you.
Oh, okay. At first, I would have said Bucks in five, Bucks in 4 or 5, because of a regular 1 through 8. But since we're doing a 1 through 16, and it's going to be in an Orlando, I would say Bucks in 6, in my opinion.
Okay, so you got the Bucks in 6,
hmm
and what makes you have the Bucks in 6?
Well, like I said, Milwaukee is kind of they have the talent, but they're inconsistent. Can Giannis have a dominant playoff run? Can Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe chip in? Brooke Lopez. If you actually watched the playoffs last year, Brooke Lopez was actually the most consistent buck in the whole playoffs. If you actually think about it, especially against the Raptors, I just think that with the technically the Magic are semi home and Orlando's a good home team, so I know we're in Disney World, but I just think that Orlando will play more freely at home compared to in Milwaukee. But I just think, and I think the Magic have a lot of talent, but I just think that Milwaukee has more firepower and depth than Orlando. But I do think since the season is going to be in Disney World in Orlando, I just think that I see Vucevic, Ross, Gordon, Fultz, Fournier play a little bit better in the playoffs. So I say Bucks in 6.
You say Bucks in 6? Okay. What
Yes.
about you, Pete?
I would agree with that. I think this whole playoff run is going to be a lot closer. I think uh, we're probably looking at anywhere between a game to 2 games differential, just because even the best teams are just they haven't played with each other in a while. There's no momentum. Everyone's starting from zero. So in my mind, these this series, this playoff run is going to look closer to a preseason game, or maybe even like the first like 10 games of the season.
Hmm. I know what the sports critic is saying that they haven't depended on seeding yet. I'm going off of hypotheticals, bro. So what I'm basically saying is if the playoffs did start today, and let's say that the Wizards and the other teams didn't get an opportunity, I'm just basically saying I'm going off of that. But we don't know this yet. So we're just going off of hypotheticals if that was to be the case. Now, I could switch it up and then say if the Wizards would go in, but it's like that'd be disrespect because the Magic still got a chance. The Bucks still, I mean, what you call it, the Magic, they still have a chance to get the 7th spot. But I'm just saying, if I'm just going based off if the playoffs were set today, I'm not saying this is the final determination yet. So this is just going off a hypothetical. So yeah, this is just going off a hypothetical, bro. So Bucks versus Magic. Like G Money said, got the talent. I do agree with duality. I think what this playoffs does, if we're going by a 16-team format, one, you have to understand that one, there's going to be no crowd. Two, this is going to be a 0-0 season, and this actually brings more unpredictability. Even though, again, obviously, when it comes to matchups, because that is what playoffs are all about, they're all about matchups. Uh, I think the Magic might get the seventh seed in my personal opinion, but that's like when the season resumes. I'm just saying if the playoffs started right now. So we're just doing Bucks versus Magic. I think, like I said before, the Magic, they definitely have talent. The only thing is they don't have the scoring. And I'm sorry, Milwaukee, they have obviously they have more firepower. And I think with Orlando's defense can keep them in games. So I think that that's going to be their calling card. But I think ultimately, um, the Bucks will beat them. I'm gonna say in five. I don't think it's a sweep. I'm probably gonna say five. At best, it could be 6 games. Could be 6 games. Now, I want to go to Sam G's uh, quote statements that he's been saying in the chat because of the potential Kyrie and KD return. So now, if those two were to come back, the chemistry will be an issue, personally, unless if they could get some reps in for 8 games, and that's not a lot. But now we got the 2 versus 15 matchup, which is the Lakers against the Brooklyn Nets. And now, how do you guys see that playing out now with the dynamic of possibly Kevin Durant and Kyrie coming back?
Whew, that'll be juicy if we saw both teams fully at full strength. Here's what I think. You talk about if Brooklyn's healthy, I would say Lakers in seven. But if the Nets are not, I say Lakers in four. Because here's why I say that. Even though if you get Kyrie and Katie back, the Lakers just have more talent than Brooklyn, but the Nets have more depth and Dinwiddie, Levert, Joe Harris, guys who can put the ball on the floor, Torian Prince. And when you get Katie and Kyrie to return, you have two guys who could drop 30 a night if they wanted to. But main reason why I would choose the LA Lakers over the Nets because the Lakers have more guys who have guys who have proven themselves too at the same time. The Lakers just have more talent. You have LeBron James, who is a top five player in the NBA. You have Anthony Davis, who's the best player on the team, MVP candidate. You have Dwight Howard, who is a former superstar. You have JaVale McGee, who's a good role player. You have A.B. Bradley, who can make some big shots and can lock you up from the perimeter. Danny Green. I know Danny Green's become more inconsistent, but Danny Green can make big shots. And remember, he almost won a Finals MVP back in 2013 with the Spurs. And then you have KCP who started off slowly, but man, he started to pick it up though. And now you got a guy who can give you buckets and Dion Waiters. So I just think that if the Nets were healthy, I mean, let me stop my camera. All right, if the Nets were healthy, I would think that they can push the Lakers to 7 games. But I just think that LA has a little bit more firepower than Brooklyn.
Okay, Pete.
I agree with that prediction wholeheartedly. Um, Remind me again of who the coach is for the Nets.
Jock
I
Vaughn,
Yeah,
Jack,
Jack Vaughn, he
Jock Vaughn, yeah.
interim head coach for Kenny Atkinson since he and the Nets parted ways.
So I also think coaching will have a big um aspect of this like series um because coaching is always a bigger deal in the postseason than it is during the regular season. But here we really have to worry about rotations more so than before, getting guys
Hmm.
to because we're going to be worried about injuries because guys haven't played in a while, or if got particularly if guys are coming back and they had an injury, during the off season.
You done, Pete?
Pete,
Pete, you there? Weird. I guess I'm gonna just go in the meantime. I don't know what happened with Pete, but um, all right. The Nets have a lot of uncertainty on their team. Like I said, it would be good for and I'll check the chat in a second. It would be good for the Nets in terms of excitement, to be able to get these guys back. But yeah, I mean, Amir is absolutely right. The Nets, they don't really have a shot, especially with the issues that they have with chemistry. Rotations are really important. I don't know how Jack is gonna be able to. I want to see how he does coaching with them. And the thing is also, it's a possibility that the Magic might even get the seventh spot too. So if that if it, if that were to happen, then things kind of change, and then they end up going up against the Bucks. To be honest with you, it's crazy, but depending how quick they could get their chemistry, I actually give them a more realistic chance against the Bucks than I do with the Lakers. But I just think Frank Vogel's done a very good job coaching. I think the dominance of Anthony Davis is because they don't really have the bigs to be able to deal with him with AD because he's so dominant and he can stretch the floor. I think the pick and roll that him and LeBron are going to do are going to give the Nets problems, especially because the Nets are not a good, defensive team. Yeah, I know that the Nets said that KD's not coming back, but it depends, man. I think to me they're going to say that, but I think that these guys could. I noticed that NBA teams and NBA players sometimes have a tendency to play mind games. And the thing is, KD has had it's been 12 months since he ruptured his Achilles. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Durant were to come back, and it's up to him. To be honest with you, he honestly would even help ratings if he was to come back too. I think from a rating standpoint, it would really help the NBA. And like I said, I think it would be good for him to come back so he could knock off a little bit of the rust so that he would be good going into next season. So that's why I said that I think that him and Kyrie, so that they could kind of get used to playing one another, because the following year is going to be much more crucial than this coming season because the Nets don't really have anything to lose, to be honest with you. They don't,
Yeah.
and they obviously have to get better defensively because the defense has been an issue with them. They tend to get to really good starts, and then in the fourth quarter they just don't execute really well. So I see the Lakers if KD and Kyrie could come back and, like I said, somehow play like the two dominant players that they're capable of, and it inspires the rest of the team, and somehow on both ends of the floor. Because I'm really interested to see how they'll both do defensively. I could see them pushing. I might not say seven. I think seven is a little bit too much, even expecting from a Nets team that has been inconsistent defensively all year. I could say probably 6 games at the most, but I have the Lakers winning in 6 games. Now, remember, guys, nothing is determined yet, but we're going off of hypotheticals. And we're just going up hypotheticals if all 16 teams were set today. But there's obviously a lot of basketball left, and the 5 teams in the West have, the ability to have a chance to fight for the eighth playoff spot, and same thing with the Wizards. Okay, so now we got the next matchup. That would be the number 3 seeded Toronto Raptors going up against the young Memphis Grizzlies. And how do you see? That's an interesting series to me.
Mhm.
How do you see it?
That'd be crazy. You got a Memphis team who's been electrifying this year. John Moran has had a Rookie of the Year campaign. Yeah, Jaren Jackson has stepped it up this year. Jonas Valanciunas has been balling out of his mind. That Grizzlies team is fun to watch, but I gotta go to defending champs. I gotta say Raptors in 6. I just think that Toronto has more depth than Memphis. I just think that Toronto has better coaching with Nick Nurse, and the Raptors, excuse me, have all stars and Kyle Lowry and Spicy P on their team, while the Grizzlies don't really have an all star. Toronto knows how to execute in close games. Memphis, they're inconsistent when it comes to execution. They got to work on turnovers and stuff. Toronto has a go to guy in Spicy P. But Memphis, I know John Morant is going to win Rookie of the Year, but I don't think he's a go-to guy yet. I think he has to develop that later in the future. So I'm going to say because of coaching, more depth, and better, and more experience, I gotta go Toronto in 6.
So you got the Raptors in 6.
Sure, and I just want to throw this out there: Jonas Valanciunas will be playing his former team, by the way.
Good point. The way I see it is this is a very interesting matchup. I think it's going to be fun. This is really a game, a series, I should say, that is really when you talk about starless power, there's really like no legitimate like superstar in this series. You have All Star Kyrie, you have All Star Pascal Siakam, and you have potential future All Star John Morant. I just think that when it comes to both teams, you're gonna see some really good basketball. and I think it's going to be really competitive between both teams. The Raptors trying to prove that they're not just a Kawhi basketball team, very deep, shoot the three very well. They've kept the defensive principles from Nick Nurse, and people thought that the Raptors were going to be a bottom lower seed, but they've proven people wrong, and they have the second best record in the Eastern Eastern Conference, third best record in the league. So give kudos to Toronto. They have not skipped a beat.
Mm-hmm.
And Memphis has really surprised a lot of people. John Morant played up to expectations that I thought that he would. I thought Zion, had he been playing all season, I thought he was the rookie of the year. But I said Zion's injury said to me that Ja was going to be the rookie of the year. And Ja is, he's lived up to expectations. I mean, he has been great. He's been very impactful. They got some nice young players with Jared Jackson. They have um, Dylan Brooks. Jonas Valanciunas has played well for them. So I think that the Grizzlies are a team that's going to bring a lot of excitement. Don't sleep on them. I think their youthful energy is going to make the Raptors play and raise up their intensity. So I think with the fans in the FedEx Forum and then the fans up in the what is it, the I forgot the arena for Toronto, but
Scotiabank Arena.
Scotiabank Arena. Okay, so with Toronto, we already know what Jurassic Park is going to be like. So I think that even though these are two small market teams, the Raptors are the defending champions, and I definitely see Memphis could possibly push this Raptors team. I'm going to say six because I think with Kawhi Leonard, I feel like that would be a 5 game series. So I think that the difference is in the game, especially because as good as Siakam has been this year, the question is, can he close and be the go-to guy? That's what I'm looking to see for Siakam. Like I said, the Raptors are very deep, but can Siakam take that next step? If he can do that and kind of show a killer instinct, I can see the Raptors finishing the Grizzlies in 5 games. And like Sam G said, we can't sleep on those Grizzlies because to me they can push them to a hard fought 6 games. So I can see the Raptors winning in 6 games. So we have the Bucks, Lakers, and the Raptors advancing so far. Perfect. All right, G Money. Now let's look at the next matchup. So we now have the LA Clippers, number 4 seed, against the number 13 seed Dallas Mavericks. So we have Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, their dynamic duo, going up against Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
Whew, that'll be another spicy series. I think this could. I know you don't think the Mavs could beat the Clippers. I think they could, but I'm not picking Dallas. I'd say Clippers in 6 or 7. I'm gonna go Clippers in 6 or 7 because here's why. Even though, like I said multiple times, the Clippers have guys other than Harold and Kawhi who have been up and down the playoffs. To be fair, Paul George has been to two conference final before, and Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell nearly beat the Warriors last year. The Clippers just have more depth than the Mavs. They just have more firepower than the Mavs. Dallas just doesn't have the experience. Like Luca and KP, I think will play well, but it's Tim Hardaway going to step up. Seth Curry is on and off at times. It's Kleba, Boban Marjanovic, or Bobby, you want to call him, or is guys like who else was on the team? Is guys like Mejri going to step up? That's gonna be the question if you're the Dallas Mavs. So even though I do think the Mavs can beat the Clippers in the first round, I'm not gonna pick them because they just don't have the experience compared to a Clippers team who had a Finals MVP in Kawhi Leonard, a guy in Paul George who's been to two conference finals and nearly beat LeBron and the Heat in 2013. Two guys in Lou Will and Harrell who, again, Lou Will played well in Golden State, but was struggling in Staples Center. But if Lou Will could be consistent in the playoffs and Paul George, Montrezl Harrell is going to be he's going to do his thing. Marcus Morris has made big shots in the playoffs. Reggie Jackson's okay in the playoffs. He's had some big moments. You have Joakim Noel, who's a playoff vet, you know. So Patrick Beverly, who's going to bring his hard head on defense and can give you the 3-point shot. And you have a coach in Doc Rivers who has shown he can win a title back in 2008, even though Rick Carlisle won a title in 2011. So I just think that the Clippers just have more experience and have more talent than the Mavs. But the Mavs can beat the Clippers. So I'm gonna say Clippers in 6 or 7. But I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I think the Mavs could take this team to 7 games. I'm going Clippers in 7. Bold prediction.
Wow, G Money's going bold prediction right there. Clippers in 7 games over the Dallas Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I appreciate KP finally kind of found himself after Luka got injured with his ankle injury, and Luka Doncic has definitely improved his game. Before that, shout out to Ron in the building, and shout out to Stan for saying that don't sleep on the Grizzlies. I do agree with you, and he says that that might go 6, maybe 7. Okay, I said 6 games at best. It's possible it could go 7. And, Ron says that that could be an interesting series, specifically if Ja is on his game. But Toronto is structured a little better, and Nick Nurse has more than proven his worth. And I think Nick has really proven his worth because that was one of the questions coming into this season. Was
Mm-hmm.
Nick a neophyte coach and that his only best bet was because he had Kawhi Leonard, or can he really coach this team after what the job that Dwayne Casey did, even though they got knocked off by LeBron, and that was while, you know, uh, LeBron was still in the Eastern Conference, but Nick Nurse has proven himself. One less player, Siakam has stepped up, and they haven't really missed a beat, like I said before. So I definitely have to give him a lot of credit. He definitely should be in the running for Coach of the Year because
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody expected him to do this great of a coaching job, even with the players he has. Because remember, people had a lot of questions about Toronto coming into this year with the absence of Kawhi Leonard going to the Clippers. Okay, so now the Clippers against the Dallas Mavericks. Uh, this is one of those scenarios where the issue with the Dallas Mavericks is that they're too dependent on Luka Doncic. He is their offense. Now,
Mm-hmm.
KP can score, but when you look at the structure of Dallas's offense, they run everything through Luka. So that to
Mm-hmm.
me is where there's going to be an issue. And like you said yourself, G Money, and Rick Carlisle, he's going to have to tweak some things in his motion offense
Mm-hmm.
if Luca doesn't, because I feel like if Luca ends up getting double teamed a lot, especially if he has, because Luca also has a tendency to dribble the ball out late in the shot clock, and he ends up taking like a step back three, and I've seen him do it before. And when you look at Luca's game, it's kind of like he dribbles and he'll attack the basket, it's kind of similar to what LeBron does a little bit. So what I'm saying with Luca is that, and this is really the first time he's in the playoffs as it is. Same thing with Kristaps Porzingis. That and like you said before, they're lacking experience, and you're gonna have to wonder: are these other players gonna be able to step up? Steph Curry played well last year in the Western Conference Finals. Yes, he's on a new team. I don't think I'm worried about too much like I am with some of the other players. In particular, the starters. Tim Hardaway Jr. Not being in the playoffs is going to be his first. You're
No,
talking
no, no.
about.
Tim Hardaway went to the playoffs with the Hawks back in 2017.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're right. So he has his playoff experience, but obviously this is going to be his second playoffs. But at least he gives him some. This is just a matter of I just think the Clippers are too good defensively, something that the Mavs are not the best at. I believe that they're in the 20s when it comes to defense, so that's something that they have to improve as they develop and get better and become a championship contender in the years to come. But the Clippers are just for they're built for the future. Um, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George will be healthy with all this rest that they've had, during the quarantine. And I just look for the other players to be motivated and getting ready. Shout out to Kid Glory. And I just think that the fact that they have dominant players, because I think with Luca, it's a matter of rhythm. And not saying that Luca can't take over a game, but when he struggles, Dallas's offense can go with it too, especially because. But Luca's very good. Don't get me wrong. He's very talented, and I like watching Luca play. Definitely improved from last year for sure. And I honestly think that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George will bring their A games. And you have to also remember this: they're in an empty arena, so this isn't like we're playing home court advantage on the road or at home. It's different. This isn't the home court advantage doesn't even play a factor in any of these and for any of these games. And just to let everybody know, the NBA is considering to play a 2K crowd from game 2K in the arenas to make it feel like if the fans are there. This is how gimmicky this regular season playoff format has gotten. That's what they're considering right there. So you know, I honestly think that this is a 5 game series. I don't see it going to 6 or 7. I get the bold prediction from G Money and understandable. He has the right to his opinion, but I just think that these guys are much more deeper, and I think that the experience is going to show. And like I said, the Clippers defensively, what they can do, they have multiple ways that they can come at Luca, and I just think that that's going to be, and that's going to put more pressure on Porzingis to step up, and I think that that's going to be the determining factor. So they're just too deep for Dallas. And like you mentioned, Kleber and Majory and Boban, you know, they're gonna have to step up. I'll be shocked if they can. Not saying that they can't because they're NBA players, but it's gonna be tough. But so I got the Clippers in a gentleman's sweep in 5 games. Now, before I continue with the rest of the seeding, let me just appreciate a kid for hitting the like button. And he basically says he likes your point. He likes your points, G Money. He says, but the Clippers in 5 or 6, it's not going to go to Game 7, and the Clippers will zero in on Luca. It would be a problem if KP steps up and be consistent because he's been okay. So that's the thing with Dallas for me. They just have a lot of ifs. If they can do it, G Money, you look like a genius. But I just think the Clippers are too deep, and I just think that they have the game plan to counter that. Ron says that the Mavs and the Clippers should be interesting, but I think the Clippers' experience in defense and having Kawhi gives them the edge. Maybe it goes to 6 games. Like I said, if it's a push, it's 6 games. Give me 1 second before I continue. And also like this is why I also said about the empty arena. Like when you look at the players, you don't have to worry about players getting nervous. You don't have to worry about the players getting anxiety because they're in an empty arena. So there's no fans to heckle them. And we know how the 6 man advantage likes to, people always look at the crowd as that 6 man. When players are tired and that crowd gives them that extra boost of energy, that they need to push through, especially when the games are close. When the games are close, you're not going to be able to rely on that. I said that that's why it's going to be a lot more interesting now. And when we look at the Clippers and a lot of these like past failures from some of these players like a PG or a Lou Will, they don't have to worry about the crowd being effective. They could just play basketball. And listening to Paul George, he even said, in his opinion, the Clippers have to they can win a championship. That's the mindset you got to have when you believe that you can win a championship and you are a championship team. Everybody's got their opinions, but that's the way it's going to go. So I think that Dallas has been a great story. Uh, and shout out to Dallas Mavericks fans everywhere. Shout out to Luca and all those guys. But I just think that the experience of the Clippers are going to be too much for them. And like I said, they can game plan for Luca easy, and that's going to put more pressure on KP to kind of be that go-to guy. Which KP, I don't feel like he is. I feel like he's just more of a complimentary player than he is a go-to guy. So I think the Clippers in 5. But again, shout out to everybody in the chat. And shout out to Anthony L. He says, was good. And was good, Anthony. Appreciate you coming through, my man. Smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button for the Louis Sports Network. We are talking 1 through 16 NBA playoff format if the playoffs were to start today, if they were locked and if they were set. So this official playoffs because there's still a lot to be determined and the season is returning on July 31st. But we're just doing this hypothetically if the playoffs were to start today. Okay, G Money. Now we are going to move on to the next matchup. So we already have the Bucks, Lakers, Raptors, and Clippers all advancing. Next matchup. We have the Boston Celtics against the Philadelphia 76ers. I think this matchup is very, very, very intriguing. What do you think, my friend?
Celtics in 7. Celtics in 7. Technically, Phillies could be on the roads. Technically, because they've been a great home team, but they've been a garbage road team. I'm gonna say Celtics in 7 because Philly has a lot of talent, but Boston just has better chemistry. Brad Stevens is just a better head coach than Brett Brown. Like I said, Brett Brown has had a talented team, especially last year. And last year, I honestly felt, I know we're talking about this year, but last year, I honestly felt that if they would have won game seven, they would have won the championship. I really believe if the Sixers had beat the Raptors last year, they would have won the title, in my opinion. This year's team, is, think about it. You got Ben Simmons, who's not really improved much. Joel Embiid has been inconsistent this year. Al Horford has been terrible this season. Tobias Harris has been up and down. The Cork Moss has played well shooting the ball, but is he going to be great in the playoffs? I don't know. Shake Milton has been surprisingly good this year, and he had that monster 39-point game against the Clippers on an ABC Sunday showcase game. I'm just saying that the Sixers have the talent against the Celtics, but they just don't have the consistency. Boston has two go-to guys in Jason Tatum, who has took it to another level, and Kemba Walker, who can take over a game when he wanted to. And then you have Jalen Brown, who can play both sides of the ball. You have Marcus Smart, who can get some steals and deflections and can hit the 3-point shot. And you got and yeah, the Celtics just have more depth. They just have more. They just have a little bit more experience, I can say, because Jason Tatum has been to a conference final. So has Jalen Brown. He's been to a conference final. Marcus Smart's been to a conference final. Brad Stevens has been to a conference final. I just think that Boston just has better chemistry than Philadelphia. Philadelphia, you don't know which team's going to show up. Do I really think the Celtics are better without Kyrie? No, because here's what I think. If Boston loses in the first or second round, then we cannot keep using the Kyrie situation. Then it's maybe just the players that didn't fit. But if Boston can make the Eastern Conference Finals or who knows the NBA Finals, then you may have a case with Kyrie being a huge problem. But in my opinion, I just think that the Boston Celtics just has better togetherness. They just play together as a team than Philly. Philly, they're just so inconsistent, man. They could go from beating the Lakers one game, but then get but lose to the Warriors the next game. They could go from beating the Clippers another game, but then lose to the Cavs another game. The Sixers just don't have the they just don't have the consistency to match Boston. And losing JJ Redick and Jimmy Butler is gonna hurt.
My apologies. My mic is off. My mic was off, so I apologize.
Right.
Shout out to Ron again. He said that Paul George has a lot to prove, and I said he does because
Yes.
he finally has the team. He has the team to now compete, and if they stay injury free, there's no excuses. If he doesn't get it done, I know he's going to be looked at very, very. People are going to be very, very critical of him if he doesn't get it done. And they're going to say it's crazy because some people have called Paul George a superstar. And I said from the get go, I never felt that Paul George was a superstar just by the way that he plays. And yes, he did not have teams. Sometimes he had the ability, to probably win those games, but he just didn't get it done. And he's had moments. I think he's had moments, but there's moments that he hasn't. So,
Mhm.
that's going to be key. But I think it's more so for Paul George because for Kawhi Leonard, to me, he doesn't have as much to prove as Paul George because Kawhi's won and he's the reigning finals MVP. The only pressure that he's really facing is more so from the media and from, people who don't like Kawhi, not just because of his quiet demeanor, but, the fact that he's not a Los Angeles Laker and he's a Los Angeles Clipper. Some people are banking that Kawhi doesn't do well, but we're going to see what happens. But I feel like Paul George to me has more pressure than Kawhi. They're just going to give it to Kawhi because of the fact that he pulled this unbelievable move and outchessed everybody in free agency to be a Los Angeles Clipper. But shout out to Lawrence, man. He says, "What's up, everybody? What's good, Lawrence? Hope everything is good with you." Karam says he's got the Celtics in six. Okay.
Mhm.
He also says that the Sixers need to fire Brett Brown. I've been saying that for the
Right.
longest time,
Big time.
and Anthony says was good, and he also says that the Sixers are a team that just stand there at the 3-point line, and also he's got the Celtics in 6. And he says, Louis, he had a team in Indy, and he was playing like a superstar. Okay, kinda. I'm gonna
Kinda,
say kinda.
but not to interrupt you, but the Pacers weren't all that great. Like I said, if you watch the 2014 Pacers, Roy Hibbert looked like a bum in the playoffs. Lance Stevenson is kind of a moron. George Hill was okay at best, and David West was old. That was not a great team at all. And listen, this narrative that PG was playing like a superstar. If he was playing like a superstar, then you shouldn't allow your team to go 7 games against a 38-win Hawks team that had no Al Horford and go 6 games against a Wizards team that no one had making the playoffs, let alone they won twice in Indiana. And I understand the Heat were better in 2014, but that same Heat team got demolished by the Spurs. Paul George was up and down in that playoff run.
That's your money. And let me just go before I give my thoughts. Ron says, um, I have to go with the Celtics. The Sixers have talent, but they have a fit problem, and the Celtics have better chemistry, and they just might try to build that wall against Ben Simmons. Here's the thing. The 76ers have arguably the best big man in basketball when he's healthy in Joel Embiid. Arguably. There isn't a lot of big men in the league to begin with. That's one. He's an MVP candidate when he's healthy too. They just have a couple. They have a couple of issues. One, they're not as deep as they were last year. They lost Jimmy Butler, so you missed that go-to guy in close games. Tobias Harris he's had a down year, which isn't good, and he's making a lot of money. Ben Simmons uh, showed you in the offseason that he was working on his jump shot, quote unquote, to see if he would take more chances to really stretch the defense. And he's still playing the same way, which shows me he's still not confident in taking mid range shots at the very least, which is going to be a problem in the playoffs, like Ron said, if they build that wall. And yeah, I agree with you, Karam. He's also very immature. Uh, Joel Embiid is very immature, which is another issue with this 76er team. I feel like that this is a very immature team, and they really lack veterans that would help them be a more mature team. I also just don't like the coaching of Brett Brown because, like I said before, he treats Ben Simmons like his own son instead of treating him like a basketball player. He
Mhm.
doesn't motivate him or hold him accountable and give him and make him responsible, for being a much better basketball player. And to me, Ben Simmons is overrated. Like, yeah, he can go to the basket and he can drive and all that, and he's a good passer and all that, but he's overrated because he hasn't really expanded his game. You just can't get away with trying to play the same thing because you're just too predictable. And in the playoffs, Ben Simmons, they're gonna build a wall. And remember also, when he gets trapped, he turns the ball over a lot. On top of that, he's not a good free throw shooter. So that doesn't help. And like you mentioned, Korkmaz, he's been good. Uh, he's been good. Shake Milton, he had one of those breakout games, but he's been inconsistent as well. He was playing. He was kind of a surprise, at some part of the season. But he's been down. But Al Horford has been a disappointment too. He hasn't played up to par neither. So when you look at this Philadelphia Sixers team, the talent is there. The thing is also though, you're right. It is going to be a road game for them because they're in Orlando. Even if the fact that it's really not a factor for either Boston or Philly because neither one of them are at home. They're in another state, and it's funny to an Eastern Conference team, but the Celtics just have too much experience. They fit better. And shout out to Freddie Gee. Uh, I just feel like the Celtics will have two. They have much more experience. I feel like the coaching of Brent Stevens is going to run circles on Brett Brown. And I just think the Sixers, they should have fired Brett Brown already. I just don't know what's waiting for them so long. I mean, how long is the process going to last until you realize that Brett Brown is just not that guy for this team? Uh, and Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown both are having career years. And healthy wise, I just look at it from experience. Boston just has more experience. They play better chemistry. They fit well together. I'm looking to see what Kemba does, but I just think the Celtics, to me, from experience and chemistry, uh, and even with a Gordon Hayward not playing, consistently, the fact that Jason Tatum has stepped up. Now you're looking to see if Jason Tatum can do this in the later rounds. But I think just for this first round, as talented as Philly is, I got the Boston Celtics in 6 games and Boston advancing. So that would be the number 5 matchup, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that was the number 5 matchup over the
Hmm.
number 12, which Philly would be 12. Okay, so Boston is 6, so they advance. Now we have the Denver Nuggets against the Indiana Pacers. The Denver Nuggets against the Indiana Pacers. That's another interesting series right there.
Hmm. Who, if I had to choose, I'm going to say Denver in 6. I think the Nuggets just have more depth than the Pacers. And again, Oladipo just came back from injury, so he's been a little bit rusty. And again, he needs to step it up if he wants to, if they want to go far. Because if you actually have watched Oladipo in his playoff career, he's never been a great playoff performer. He was not good versus the Rockets in 2017, and he was inconsistent as heck versus the Cavs in 2018. So Oladipo needs to be more consistent and needs to play like the All Star that we saw back in 2018 and even parts of last year before he got hurt. If Indiana wants to do something, Demontis Sabonis has been really underrated this year. He's been an All Star. He's working on his jumper. He's a very good passer, pretty good rebounder. Sabonis has had the complete package right now. He just needs to just work on his defense and stuff. Nate, and listen, Mike Malone to me is just a better coach than Nick McMillan. Nick McMillan is a good coach, but Mike Malone is just a better head coach right now. And I just think that losing Jeremy Lamb is going to hurt Indiana because remember, Jeremy Lamb was balling in Charlotte. He can give you 15 to 20 a game if you wanted to, but they lost him for the rest of the season because he had that torn ACL. And Malcolm Brogdon, he's going to help Indiana because he can pass the rock, he can shoot the three, he can penetrate to the rim. But is he going to be consistent? Because he was up and down with the Bucks last year, and that's gonna be a problem for Indiana. Can Doug McDermott hit those spot up threes? He could put the ball on the floor too. Could Justin Holiday hit some big shots? Could T.J. McConnell make some big plays in the playoffs? Those are the questions that the Pacers are going to have to answer when they get to the playoffs. For the Denver Nuggets, here's what I think of Denver. I know we're talking about this year, but last year they overachieved, being the number 2 seed, went all the way to the second round, upsetting. I say the word upset because the Spurs had more experience than the Nuggets last year, and they beat them in 7. But I was disgusted by Denver losing to Portland because they lost Game 3 in quadruple overtime and blew a 17-point lead in Game 7 at home. Denver should have played Golden State in the conference final last year, or Houston if Houston didn't choke. But Denver just has more depth. Nikola Jokic, he's a big player, but can he be clutch in the playoffs? I just thought that the dude is not clutch in the playoffs. Can Jamal Murray be consistent? He was, even though he had his moments versus Portland, he was horrible in Game 7 last year. Can he be consistent in the playoffs? Can Will Barton produce in the postseason? Can Paul Millsap show his veteran experience? Denver has a lot. Can
Those
Gary
are really
Harris?
good points, Jim.
Yeah.
No, no, no.
Oh,
Go ahead. Because I think there was like it kind of froze for a second. That's why, and I thought you was done. But that was the computer freezing. My bad. It's this whole StreamYard and YouTube thing. Go ahead, man. Finish your point.
Oh, okay, okay. Can Gary Harris break out of his slump? Because he's kind of been mediocre this year compared to last year. Like Denver, they have more depth than the Pace than Indiana. That's why I got the Nuggets over the Pacers in 6. It could go 7 though, but I just think that Indiana just doesn't have the firepower to match Denver. And Oladipo, like I said, if you watch Oladipo in the playoffs, he's never been a great playoff performer. So that's the questions I have to. That's the things I want to see from the Pacers and the Nuggets. And can Denver find their identity? I've been saying this multiple times. This team is too dang inconsistent. Yes. Uh. Hang on, Lewis.
All right, G Money's he's really putting some really good points right now, talking about the Denver and the Indiana Pacers right now. So
So yeah. So I'll make this quick. I'm going Nuggets in 6 because they just have more depth, more talent, etc., and better coaching.
all right, G Money, that was pretty good. Now for me, Denver against Indiana. This would be a much better matchup if Jeremy Lamb was healthy. People are also forgetting that Malcolm Brogdon is also injured too.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another loss that they had, and you're missing his defense. You're missing Jeremy Lamb's ability to score consistent. He was putting up buckets as with the Charlotte Hornets before he came over in that trade. They have obviously Aaron Holiday. Also, Miles Turner has also been hurt too. So people forget that. So the Pacers have had
Mm-hmm.
some injuries, but this is a much better team when they're fully healthy. Uh, I will say this though, and it's crazy that both Justin and Aaron Holiday play on the same team. I think that's just pretty cool. While their brother Drew is in with the Pelicans, but getting back to the point. This is a pretty solid starting five, and Oladipo, I have to question him. Can he be consistent in the playoffs? Because there's moments where Oladipo looks like a superstar, and then there's moments where Oladipo just tends to disappear. But I remember the 2018 Pacers, he was pretty much he was their best offensive player overall.
Mm-hmm.
So I want so his thing is he has to work himself back into game shape coming off of that serious injury. So I think that that's really big, and I also have to think that obviously Jeremy Lamb losing that having the ACL injury is really going to hurt them. So that already right there puts him at lower depth. With Sabonis, he has the skill set, and I like him a lot. My problem with him is when he shoots mid-range shots, he doesn't have enough arc on his shot, whether it's a two
Mm-hmm.
or a three. I notice his shots either hit the tip of the rim or his shot becomes really flat. So
Mm-hmm.
even with Sabonis, you want to keep him out of the paint and not rebounding the ball. You don't want him to get to the free throw line. So you want him to be shy. That way he can't affect the game rebounding and getting to the free throw line if he's in the paint. So you want to keep him out there. As for the Denver Nuggets, this is a very inconsistent, lacking an identity basketball team. This is a team that's got Jokic. They've got Will Barton. They've got Monte Morris. They have Gary Harris. They have Jamal Murray. Very nice deep team. Michael Porter Jr. They're deep, but they're very inconsistent. The funny thing is, last year they were a better offensive team than defensive team. This year they're a better defensive team, and it took them a while to get back into the flow of things of offense, which is what makes this so weird. And you make a great point, Ron. Gary Harris is a big key to why the Nuggets have been inconsistent. Not just Jokic coming in overweight, coming into training camp. So that was another reason. Jokic was so out of shape. He had to work himself into shape during the season. That wasn't good. Gary Harris has shot terrible from the 3-point line, and he hasn't had a good year as of last year. Uh, I know that they traded away Malik Beasley, so he's not on the team anymore. So with Jokic, it has to be, can he be that person to take over the game? They don't have a player that can take over a game. I'm wondering who that person can be for Denver. Is Jokic going to want it bad enough? And like people were saying, they should have beaten the Portland Trail Blazers last year.
Mm-hmm.
They should have beaten them, in my opinion, in 6 games. So that should have been a 6-game series.
They really should beat
Hard
them in
fought.
five if you think about it. Because, like I said, game three, they lost in quadruple overtime. They should have won in five.
Yeah, that's true because I think the series was tied when when they won in game four. They win that triple overtime game. Guess what? Next you know, Denver's at home because Denver, I believe they won game five. So they would
Mm-hmm.
have beat them in five. They would have had more rest. And I keep saying to myself that Freddie was saying that the Warriors would run them down. I don't necessarily think so for two reasons. Three reasons. One, the inside game of Jokic would have been a problem for Draymond Green. He'd be in foul trouble. Number two, you have to consider that the Warriors would have been playing in that altitude in Denver, and that's a very difficult place to play, especially during playoff time. So that altitude is going to play a factor. And also, the Warriors were not. This was their
Fifth
weakest team in
straight
terms
year
of their
going to the
depth.
finals.
So yeah, you could talk about the miles on their bodies because of the fact that they went to a fifth straight for conference final, but it's also because they don't have the depth. DeMarcus Cousins and a Kevin Durant would have definitely helped in that series. But I think in this series, and Denver would be consistently pushing the pace up the floor. That would have been last year's team. This year's Nuggets team plays at a much slower pace. That's my issue. I think Indiana's best chance is they would have to run on the Nuggets because the Nuggets, surprisingly, Last year they were top five in pace. This year they're near at the bottom of the league in pace. I believe they're 27th in the league, which is surprising because most of those players they have, are from last year. So really weird. But I think Denver and Indiana, this is a six-game series. I got the Denver Nuggets going to the chat before we go into the next matchup. So we have Denver advancing. Karam's got Denver in seven. Kid Glory says he's going with Denver in six. We'll blow a game. They should win and then lose the home game, which will keep the series close. I could see that happening, to be honest with you, kid. Anthony L says, was good. The 16th light, shout out to Tomoko. But Denver isn't consistent, but they are more consistent than Indy. And Oladipo just came back, so we won't know how he will be. Plus, they're missing some depth. And Nate McMillan is very good, but I question his late game execution coaching. And it was evident in that 2018 series in the first round Cavaliers. He executes better when it comes to X's and O's. The Pacers win that series. I think the Nuggets have a little more firepower than the Pacers. Yeah, considering the injuries they have, that's Turner, Malcolm Brogdon, Jeremy Lamb, that's a lot of pieces. And Oladipo's working himself back. Kid says he agrees with you, G Money, that Denver should have beaten Portland. They blew that series, which is correct. Denver would have been the better matchup for Golden State, but they would have gotten beaten down too. Like I
Freddie,
said, I feel like
Freddie needs to understand this. I'm not trying to hate on the Warriors, but you have to watch the Warriors Blazers series in context. Portland wasn't blown out in the series. Portland blew three 17-point, two 17-point leads and an 18-point lead. If the Nuggets were in that position, they win two of those games, in my opinion. I think the Nuggets would have pushed the Warriors to 6 or 7. I don't think they beat them, but Golden State wasn't as deep as they were in the years past. Because, like I said, if the Warriors can go 6 games against the Clippers with Kevin Durant, you cannot tell me they destroyed the Nuggets without KD. Denver had the depth last year. They just didn't have the experience. But if both teams, if excuse me, Denver was healthy and Golden State was not, I say Denver pushes the Warriors to 6 or 7 games.
okay. And Karam says he wants to see more of MPJ, to be honest, which is true. And Michael Porter Jr. definitely is a talent, but he needs to get more experience. Can Jokic really average 25 to 28 points, 11 to 14 rebounds, and 4 to 6 assists for the entire playoffs? I think he has the talent, but the conditioning and mindset is not there. And I think it's really more so the mindset because even when he gets into conditioning, I feel like his mindset is always never really there. Um, Appreciate that, Tomoko. Gary Harris fell off 1 year. It still would have been a good matchup. Portland got smoked by the Warriors. At least Denver would have put up a better fight. I would say Portland got smoked once they blew those leads because it wasn't
Mhm.
like they were getting smoked from start to finish. The only time they got smoked was in game one. The issue with Portland from games 2 to 4, they blew three double-digit leads in that game, and they
That's
got
not
smoked
true.
after that. Yeah, that's the key.
Like
Um,
I want to add something. I'm sorry. Like game one, they lost by 22. Game two, they only
yeah,
lost by 3. And don't people forget about this too. In game two, Portland was up by 8 with 4 minutes to go of that game, and CJ was trying to do too much, and then Dame got stripped by Iguodala. Game three, Portland was up by 18, lost by 11 because the Blazers were just missing free throws left and right. Game four, I remember game four. Myers Leonard had 25 at the half. They were up by 17 in the third, I think, and they were up 11 in the fourth quarter. And they lost by 2 in overtime. And Myers Leonard had 30 points per game, 30 points in game four. If they just kept feeding him the ball the way he was red hot in that game, Portland would have won that game. I'll just make this simple, okay? I don't care what anyone else tells me. I don't care. This is just my opinion. If Nurkic is there against a KD-less Warriors team, I think the Blazers beat them. That is me. Or if Portland just knew to execute on both sides of the ball, they would have had a 3-1 lead. And the way the Warriors were injured and bad defense and stuff, the Blazers would have beat the Warriors. And to me, they would have made the finals. So, yeah. Lewis?
My fault. I forgot. Once again, mute. Trying to mute the doors. Okay, the Warriors wouldn't lose to a team with a depth and a star with mediocre stats compared to his regular season stats. I'm gonna need Jokic to take that next jump. I mean, he definitely has to. Who was MJ's coach when he was playing? That would be Phil Jackson. Well, when he won championships, Phil Jackson. Exactly. Denver is just there. They aren't a threat, but they aren't a wild card. Kid Glory, he says, true, Murray is stuck in Denver's system. He needs to go off the dribble more and be aggressive at all times. Yeah, he does own the Bobcats. Yes, that's right. Murray has the potential too, which makes it even more sad. And Kid Glory also says, Phil Jackson was Jordan's coach. I was thinking of something else. Steve Kerr was a role player on the Bulls. Okay, just going through the comment section. Murray at times looks like he could be that guy. At times, not so much. I agree with
Mhm.
that because Murray at times looked like he could take over the game, and I said, okay, he's gone from an all-star, and maybe he could take that next step. And then he takes a few steps back, and it's like, no. Denver has to have a consistent go-to scorer in the fourth quarter. I agree, and you got to have that number two guy. I think when you have a go-to scorer in the fourth, you got to have that consistent number two. Freddie says, I think the Warriors would have won in five. I didn't see it going past six because I thought that they overachieved in the first place. I'm sticking to my guns.
That's
Okay,
fine. That's
personal
fine.
opinion.
I respect that.
Who are the Warriors playing? Anthony L. They got one with Jokic, but he's tired as hell by the fourth, though. Yeah, it's a lack of conditioning. That's cool, G Money, but they get swept. Yeah,
Like
that's
I
the end of
said,
it.
not every sweep is a dominant sweep. People, I kind of hate that so much. Listen, I know they were swept, but you see, this is the problem with people. They got to look into every game into context. Listen, I know the Blazers were swept. I get that. But let's not make it seem if Portland was destroyed in the series. Like Lewis and I have said multiple times, Portland, I don't care what anyone else tells me, I don't care. The Blazers should have beat this team last year. If the Clippers could win two games against virtually a healthy Warriors team with Kevin Durant, then there was no excuse for the Blazers to lose to an injured Warriors team with no KD, no Boogie, and don't forget, Andre Iguodala was hurt for Game 4. He didn't even play. The entire Warriors team was injured. Yes, they were swept, but 3 games in a row, they had it right there, but it just didn't execute.
Right. And let me see. Okay, so Tomogo says, hey guys, I just like to share that basketball is one of my two favorite sports. I used to play basketball during recess in my middle school, and since boxing is part of JKD, I also learned part of it. That's what's up, Tomogo. I think the Nuggets are a young team. Give them time. Yeah, they're definitely young. But at some point, you got to keep looking. If they keep losing, then it's like, do you think that it's going to be time for a change? And I'm also looking at Mike Malone and how he coaches this, this playoffs too for the Denver Nuggets. You always want to have a number two guy to rely on outside of Jokic to step up consistently, especially in the playoffs. The other guys are good, but not reliable in big moments. And that's my question with this Denver Nuggets team. Ask Lou. I said the Nuggets overachieved last season. What happened when expectations were put on them this year? They took a step back. I've been consistent. That's true. That's
True.
true. You are absolutely right about that. That's very true. Freddie D. Shout out to
Hang on.
Nathaniel in the building. Some people ain't gonna say no names. Said that the Blazers and the Nuggets were gonna be championship contenders this year. I said, hell no. Nah. Who ended up being right? No, you did. You did. I said the Nuggets were a dark horse last year, and I thought that they could be something this year. But the thing is, I also said that it was going to depend. It was going to depend on, how they do. But what's happened is again this year is that they just became such a weird team because I thought that that would really help with their experience and their motivation. But the thing was, Jokic didn't come into camp in shape, so that didn't help with the Nuggets. They were good defensively and they got off to a good start, but the thing is, they struggled offensively. The Nuggets are just a weird team. They're just a weird team. They're talented, but they're weird. That's the case with them, so they didn't live up. And then with Portland, they just underachieved and they just been disappointing. That's just pretty much it. And I feel like Dame Lillard made a lot of excuses after that series. They had opportunities to win and they just didn't do it. And then they regressed. They lost a couple of players in the offseason. and they've just been bad. So that's the way I looked at it right there. To be honest, and shout out to Daniel. Freddie says, "Didn't you get on me last night for T Mac blowing the lead, but you got excuses for the Blazers folding like you knew they would? Get that hate out your heart, young man." And he says, "With kid," and he says, "Someday it'll just be a memory for some people. Try to be a good one, and it is a Buddhist proverb." Thank you, Tomoko, always giving famous quotes. Poland doesn't have any excuses at all. He
Thank
doesn't.
you, kid. That's what I'm trying to get people to understand. Thank you.
Poland's got no. No, I'm sorry, they don't got excuses for them to go this high. And Dames even said himself he believed he was going to win, and obviously you got to say that, but Poland doesn't get an excuse from me. They were
Mm,
gonna. I felt that I said coming into this season, I felt the Blazers were going to take a step back. I felt like these last couple of years they've kind of been a fool's gold basketball team. I felt
mhm,
like what the Toronto Raptors were before they got Kawhi Leonard. I said that
mhm.
they've been fooling people. They fooled people these last couple of seasons, and it showed. And it showed in the Western Conference Finals against a depleted Warriors team. Good enough, still good with Clay and Steph, but it's like no Kevin Durant, no DeMarcus Cousins. Andre Iguodala was hurt, in Game 4, and it's like y'all still lost. Yeah, that, and you had three double-digit leads. Portland's got no excuses, no
And
matter
even
how
Draymond had
much
a.
you look at it.
Sorry for. I'm very sorry for interrupting you, but Draymond had a pelvic injury. Livingston had like a knee injury or whatever. Kevon Looney had a chest problem. The entire team was a infirmary last year, and the Blazers still choked these guys. You know what I mean? But the Raptors with more injuries. People forget about this. Listen, I know you don't want to bring up the Warriors Raptors again. I'm sorry, but I gotta make this quick point. Toronto was even more
How
injured than.
quick?
I'll make it quick. Toronto was more injured than Portland. Remember, Toronto lost OG Anunoby last year. Kawhi, Lowry, Gasol, Fred VanVleet, Ibaka, those guys were virtually injured last year, and they beat the Warriors last year. So there was no excuse for the Blazers to not beat them, in my opinion, even the Rockets too, when the Warriors were banged up. Yeah, I'm done.
Freddie says that he thinks that the Rockets are a dark horse. I don't see them as a dark horse, to be honest. Uh, yeah, I don't. I feel like Memphis will surprise people. We're gonna see. Rockets are a team that doesn't play defense. I mean, it's more than that. The Rockets can pull an upset, but will they be consistent? That's kind of the key. I don't think people believe in the Rockets no more. I think the Rockets with Russ is kind of scary. That's just me though. My issue is with Russell Westbrook and James Harden. I think that they're too inconsistent. Whoops, my bad. Had my mic muted. What I was saying was is that I think that with Russell Westbrook and James Harden, you have two guys who have been inconsistent in crunch time. I just think, me personally, the Nuggets really aren't that deep neither. And then you have to also consider the fact that they don't really have size anymore neither. So they traded away Clint Capella. They do. I mean, they do have some size in terms of Tyson Chandler, but they're really so focused on playing small ball. They have what you call it. They have this guy PJ Tucker at 6'5" playing center. And what I'm saying is, I just don't know that. I don't really think that it's going to be. Uh, it's going to really depend on who Houston plays and how far they can go. But I just don't know, how that's going to work. Um, so there's that. And let's see. So we got the Nuggets at 6, and we have them advancing. So now if we look at the standings, so Denver would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They would be 6. Okay, now we have Utah going up against the Houston Rockets. Utah against the Houston Rockets. The number 10 seeded, the 7th seed Utah Jazz against the 10th seeded Houston Rockets.
For the third straight year, I like the Jazz, but I'm sorry, for the third straight year, the Rockets will blast off past the Utah Jazz. I just think that Houston just has too much 3-point shooting and firepower to against the Jazz. Utah would be a tough out because they'll be a tough out. But here's the problems I have with Utah. Like we kill Harden and Russ for not being great in the playoffs, you got to do the same thing with Donovan Mitchell because other than the series against the Thunder back in 2018, he has not played well versus the Rockets back-to-back seasons. Can he step it up versus Houston? Can Rudy Gobert produce versus Houston? Can Mike Conley just play well? Because he's not played well since he went to the Jazz. Like they have Jordan Clarkson, and people who like saying that the 2018 Cavs were bad. Listen, they had Jordan Clarkson. I know Jordan Clarkson is inconsistent, but the guy can get buckets. You know what I mean? The Jazz have the depth, but they just don't have the talent. They just don't have the 3-point shooting to beat the Rockets. And losing Bogdan Bogdanovic, that's going to hurt because this is a dude that could give you 15 to 20 a game, could put the ball on the floor, and could shoot the 3-point shot. So what I'm saying is that I just think that the Rockets have more talent and more firepower than the Jazz, but I do think that I just think that the Jazz will put up a fight, but I say Rockets in 6 or 7 because I just think that Russ is going to try to bounce back after he got got embarrassed. I'm sorry, by Donovan Mitchell back in 2018. He's going to play with a certain type with more anger, and James Harden's going to try to bounce back after choking multiple times in the playoffs. So I'm going to say Rockets beat the Jazz for the third straight year in the playoffs. Rockets in 6.
Okay, before I continue, let me go into the chat. Uh, what was it? Ron says that the Nuggets need the legitimate number two, even when he's in shape. The Joker is not the type of player that you can give the ball to and just say go. True, and it looks like at times Jokic does not want to be that guy when I see him play. Luca might get hot, yeah, but I just think the Clippers defense is going to recognize that, and Luca won't be hot no more. That's the thing. I'm not saying that the Clippers can't have a meltdown, can't have a bit of a letdown, but I think they'll be focused enough, understanding that it's the playoffs, and I think that they'll be eager to defend Luca. They've had the funny thing is they don't even have to really double team Luca. They can just give him different one-on-one looks because they have some good defenders on the team. You look at Paul George and Kawhi Leonard; they could easy give him fits. And when
Mm-hmm.
they played them in the regular season, when they were in Dallas, the Clippers blew them out. And when Paul George and Kawhi took turns clapping Luca, Luca had no shot. He struggled a lot, just even trying to get his shot off and going to the rim. They took away all that. He took a lot of 3 pointers in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Playoffs will be different, but you know. Okay, Nathaniel says what happened. I think when I was probably talking, my mic was just off. That's what it was, Nathaniel. And let me see. Kid has said that people do believe in Houston, but they have the potential to be, oh, don't believe in Houston, but they have the potential to be dangerous if they actually change the game plan. But see, this is my problem.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see them changing the game plan, especially because I said that if Russell Westbrook, they started winning when he changed his game, I feel like James Harden is going to get egotistical and go to Mike D'Antoni and tell them, can we get back to me dribbling the ball out the heck of the basketball, going goal line, and you know how those referees are going to be with them whistles. I don't know if James Harden is going to be able to get the free throw attempts that he needs. And again, I question him in the fourth quarter. Will Russell Westbrook be a better decision maker? Those things we got to see. If the Rockets can do that, they can be a dark horse. And then also Mike D'Antoni. I just question his game planning, especially in close games.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in close games. And the thing is, his offense is completely different to what he coaches now with Houston. When he was in Phoenix and New York, it's different. It's a more ISO heavy offense that just shoots threes. That was not the case with him in Phoenix. It was different. People don't remember that too. Kid Glory says, well, the Nuggets are dangerous when everyone contributes and they look really good, but they don't do that consistently. And Murray needs to step up because he should be that go-to guy. I just don't know he is, man. Kid Glory has got so Ralph has got Utah in 6.
Respectable, possible, very possible.
Jazz are going to be singing the blues. I agree. They're
Literally
going to
and
be singing.
figuratively, yep.
Yeah, they're going to be singing the blues. All right, that's a fact. That is a fact. Let me see. And let me just continue here in the chat. Karam says Bogdanovich is out for the year. I know that's going to hurt him. What was it? He
Mhm.
tore his ACL, I believe.
Um,
I believe
I think it was his wrist or something. Yeah,
something like that. But I know he has an injury.
it was his wrist. It was his wrist. Yeah.
Okay, he's out for the year because of his wrist injury. Gotcha. Okay, that is a big blow for them. I'm gonna get to the Rockets and the Jazz real quick. Yeah, it's a wrap for them. Shout out to 6 foot 200. Shout out to Doug Banks. I haven't seen you in a minute, man. Hope everything is good with you. And yeah, I'm gonna get to him in a moment, Ron. Good point. Oh, yo, that's big facts, Freddie.
Mm-hmm.
That's big facts. And the thing is, I don't. And I'm gonna get to Houston in a second too. In this series, yeah, he has to. These are good points, guys. Wow, he's saying, "Are you serious?" No, the thing. Yes, I'm serious. Okay, Houston Rockets and the Utah Jazz, number 7 seed against the number 10 matchup. Utah, to me, came into this season with a lot of potential. People really thought that this team was going to make some strides in the Western Conference. I feel like Donovan Mitchell, to me, has proven for the second straight year that he is more of a second half player than a regular season 82 game season player. Because for the third straight year, through the first 3 years, he's gotten off through a slow start. And then also, so looking at the Jazz, they lose Bogdanovich out for the year. That's really going to hurt them. Mike Conley has been a huge disappointment because he was really supposed to help Donovan Mitchell, really develop and blossom and take the pressure off him because what people were talking about that Mike Conley, he's a good leader, he's a good defender, he can make big plays in the fourth quarter. But my issue with Mike Conley, I kept saying, was the injury bug. He is very injury prone, and it happened in the very beginning of the season. His numbers are pretty ugly. Rudy Gobert, as good of a shot blocker he is, I feel like Houston can put him in some very bad matchups, especially if it comes to pick and roll and getting switches. They'll put him with a guy like James Harden or Russell Westbrook. And then Utah's defense to me is going to get exposed as long as Mike D'Antoni uses Russell Westbrook and um, James Harden in isolation situations. And I just think personally, Utah's defense is kind of going to get exposed a little bit in the playoffs to Houston. And I think Houston will be physical with them. And I think they're going to show a little bit more toughness. And I think Houston, if they can get hot, which because they love to jack up a lot of threes. And even though I'm not a big believer in Houston in terms of a long playoff run, I still think they beat the Jazz and they beat them. This probably might be, I think, in terms of the decision making, if Houston does not play well in the fourth quarter, I could see the Jazz getting 2 games on them. But if they execute well, I see this team beating the Jazz in 5. At best, this can be a 6 game series if it can go that far. But I see the Houston Rockets beating this team in 5 games. Let me just look in the chat real quick before I get into the. Uh, Karam actually wants the Thunder and the Rockets round one. That would actually be really
That
interesting
would
because
be
if you look at the
that would be
storyline,
awesome.
if you look at that from a storyline standpoint, that would be very, very, very interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
like how you think, Ron. That's actually that would be a good series. The
Mm-hmm.
Thunder and the Rockets. That would be a very good series because if you look at Russell Westbrook, his last 2 playoff matchups, it would be Dame Lillard, who he has beef with. Then he goes up against Chris Paul, the player he got traded for. So that would be very interesting. Okay, he says he highly disagrees. That's fine. Oh, he also posts up too in the small ball lineup too. Me, I'm not honestly scared of Houston, but against Utah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 100. I gotta ask you, what makes you think? What makes you say Utah goes in 5? That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Westbrook played better in the month of February, and he led his team to an 8-1 record that month. Were you actually watching those games? No, I wasn't. But Harden is better with the ball, and Westbrook is. I can't necessarily say that Westbrook is better with the Harden is better with the ball than he is. When D'Antoni went with the small lineup, Westbrook actually played much better. It suits him more
Mm-hmm.
because of transition. Plays well in transition. Uh, then also, like I said, he could post up in the half court. And it opens up his drives when they went small. there. Doug says that series will be fire. Yeah. So I got the Houston Rockets advancing over the Utah Jazz. I just think that this has been a disappointing team.
Mm-hmm.
When you really look at Utah, they should be better. If they played better up to expectations, I would have picked the Utah Jazz. But I got the Houston Rockets, and I think the small ball lineup is going to hurt Utah since they're a
Mm-hmm.
bit of a bigger team. Ron says the small ball lineup of Houston is hit or miss. When they're on, they're devastating, but a few teams down the stretch were able to expose that lineup. But Houston should win the series, and I
Big
think that
time
they should
facts.
win the series. But I think against more deeper, I think against deeper teams, more high IQ elite teams. When I look at teams like the Lakers had a little bit of a letdown. That's kind of their problem. But uh, yeah, when I look at the Clippers, yeah, Houston gave them trouble. But remember, once the Clippers made their adjustments and they had their players healthy, Houston had problems. That's why I don't see them beating the Clippers neither. Even though that they can give them problems, didn't say that because they were terrible guarding up some of the point guards in the league with their defense. But I got I got the Houston Rockets in 5 games. So I got Houston advancing. All right, G Money, let's get to that next matchup. The next matchup we have is the number 8 Miami Heat against the number 9 Oklahoma City Thunder. Your thoughts on that series?
Whew, that would be spicy, literally. You have OKC taking on Miami Heat. I'm going with Miami in 7 games versus OKC. Here's why.
Okay,
The
okay,
Mi- Miami just has more shooting, and Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Kelly Olynyk, Myers Leonard, Kendrick Nunn, Iguodala. You have Jay Crowder. These guys have been Jay Crowder, um, uh, Iggy, Jimmy Butler, Myers Leonard. These guys have been deep to the playoffs before. You know what I mean? The Thunder, other than Chris Paul, who's been deep to the playoffs. That's the problem, though. The Thunder, they just don't have the shooting to match the Heat. They have the toughness, but they just don't have the firepower to match Miami. Both teams are not super. Both teams are not super talented, but Chris Paul has been deep to the playoffs. But I got to be fair, CP3 has kind of choked at times in the playoffs. He has to fix that. I'm going with the Heat over the Thunder in 7 because both teams are evenly matched. Because OKC has better drivers and penetrators than Miami, but Miami has better defense and better 3-point shooting than OKC. So I gotta go with the Heat over the Thunder in 7. And Eric Spoelstra to me is just a better coach than Billy D.
okay. This is a series to me that's gonna come down to X's and O's in terms of coaching. Uh, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has had a tremendous year. Give Chris Paul a lot of credit with his leadership. Also, Danilo Gallinari has played well this year. We can't forget about Gallinari. Gallinari's been there. We obviously have Nerlens Noel. We got Diallo. It's crazy that Andre Roberson still has not come back from that uh, horrific ACL injury he's had. And like the Thunder deserve their props for surprising people, considering most people looked at them as a lottery team. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but give a lot of credit to the Thunder. They have surprised people. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, like I said again, has played well. CP3 has had a bounce back year. I'm a little bit concerned with CP3's age and the propensity to get injured at the wrong time because he
Mm-hmm.
just turned 35 last month. So that to me, I'm going to keep an eye on how long can Chris Paul sustain himself. When you look at the Miami Heat, another surprise team. Nobody expected Miami to be playing this well, this good. Their staple is their defense. Bam Adebayo, turned himself into the All-Star. Kendrick Nunn has definitely he's played very well. Tyler Hero has shot the ball well from the three-point line. Duncan Robinson, you have Jimmy Butler, Derek Jones off the bench. So
Mm-hmm.
Miami's played really well, and I like their additions of Iguodala and Jay Crowder and Solomon Hill, which
Mm-hmm.
they desperately needed because Miami does have a tendency to inconsistently score. So they do need. So their issue is they need to fix their offense. But if they can fix their offense and get a little bit of more scoring, Also, we also have to have Gordon Dragic off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
If this is going to come down to coaching, and I think that this is going to be a 7 game series, and I give the slight edge to the Miami Heat just because of the sometimes experience isn't always everything, but I just think that with some of the younger players on OKC, I wonder how it's going to be like going into the postseason. Some of those guys do have experience, but I think that Miami will edge them out. The funny thing about Miami is they may not be at home in Miami, but they're still in Florida. So even if
So
they are in Orlando, they're still technically at home. So I think that they're gonna, even though it's an empty arena where we're gonna listen to some 2K sounds, which that's just laughable by the NBA in my personal opinion. But uh, I honestly think that this is going to be a hard hitting series. I think it's going to be very physical. I think that both teams are going to be trying to execute. This is going to be a very good series. I think people are going to try to sleep on this, but I actually agree with Karam. I would have loved the Thunder and the Rockets just from a storyline standpoint, but the Miami Heat and the OKC Thunder is going to be a very good series. And I
mhm.
got the Miami Heat in 7 games. I got the Heat in 7 games. And I think that Eric Spoelstra to me is going to execute his coaching strategies better than Billy Donovan down the stretch. So I got the Miami Heat in 7 games. So I got, oh, that's right. I forgot about Dennis Schroeder. I can't forget about him.
It's Dennis
Almost forgot
Schroeder,
about him.
not to
Schroeder,
interrupt you,
Schroeder,
Schroeder. Yeah.
Schroeder. So Dennis Schroeder. Sometimes I pronounce these names wrong when I don't mean to. It's like sometimes I don't hear their name enough, whether it's their first or last name. So Schroeder, Uh, he's been great this year. I
Mm-hmm.
believe he's shooting around anywhere from 47 to 49% from the field. So he's played very well, and he's going to play. He is going to play a factor. But I think with the new pieces with Solomon Hill and Iguodala, we got to. Iguodala to me is going to give them veteran leadership, and he's still going to be solid defensively. Maybe not what he once was because he is 36 years old. But Jay Crowder can give you some defense, and he can hit threes. Solomon Hill can shoot the three ball. So I think the fact that you got two more 3 point shooters because also OKC is not a great 3 point shooting team. So I think that that's also going to play a factor too. Miami is the better 3 point shooting team compared to these two, even though Miami's not that great of a 3 point shooting team. So I got the Miami Heat in 7 games. And Miami will be the last team to advance in the NBA playoffs for the eighth spot. And now we go to the Elite Eight. And I definitely think Dennis Schroeder is sixth man of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he's giving you 19 points per game, and I believe he's shooting what is it,
47%,
38% from three?
38%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
38 from three. All right, so he's shooting 38 from three. All right, so Ron says the funny thing, Lou, our Knicks was one of the teams that got a win off of Houston with that lineup. So
Yeah, we
funny.
beat him in
So
MSG. Yeah.
not only, what's also funny? Another team that beat them was the Golden State Warriors on Christmas, playing that
I was
same lineup.
laughing. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Yeah.
This is why when I think about that, losing to teams like that, that's why I'm not really sold on Houston, even if it is a regular season game. If you can beat them like that, beating them with their own medicine, especially down the stretch, that's going to be a problem with Houston, which is why I'm very, very iffy on D'Antoni. Very, very iffy on D'Antoni. Ron says, interesting match. I think the Heat have a little more shooting than the Thunder, but the question is, will those young boys on Miami be able to keep it up during the playoffs? My question with Miami is going to be in the later rounds. Round two, if they get past that, Coach Bo, that's right. All right, now we go to the Elite Eight, and this is going to be interesting. So now we have the Milwaukee Bucks. So now if we look at the matchups, we have the Bucks and the Heat. We have the Lakers against the Houston Rockets. We have the Raptors against the Nuggets, and then we have the Clippers against the Boston Celtics. So let's start with that 1 versus 8 matchup, the Bucks and the Heat. Who you got?
This is another 7 gamer. This is a 7 gamer, obviously. But it's tough. Milwaukee could very well lose to Miami. They could. But I gotta go Milwaukee. I just think that the Bucks just have more 3 point. The Bucks just have more depth than the Heat. Milwaukee has a little bit more. I can't say more experience because Iggy, Butler, um, Jay Crowder, Myers Leonard been to a conference final, but Milwaukee has a lot of experience too. And look, I think Eric Spoelstra is better than Mike Budenholzer, but maybe you're right. I'm gonna go with the Bucks. I just think that remember Giannis is a free agent next season, and I'll say this again: if they don't go far in the playoffs, he's bouncing. I just see a series where Giannis is going to he's going to dominate. I know he has not played well versus the Heat much, but if he can play like the MVP that we can see in the regular season, and Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, Brooke Lopez, etc., Kyle Cover, Wes Matthews can be consistent, then the Bucks to me will beat the Heat. So I gotta go with the Deer over. I gotta go with the Deer. The Deer will extinguish the Heat in 7 games.
Okay. Um, let's see. This is going to be interesting. Let me just look at the comment section. Rockets lost to the Hornets.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah, they lost to
did
them
too.
too.
They never led in that game. That was crazy.
From start to finish, they lost.
Hmm.
Thank you for that point. That's why when I see the Rockets losing to these kind of teams that they should be easy,
Hmm.
that and really help them in terms of their slot in the Western Conference to make themselves look more believable. That's why I'm not kind of sold on the Rockets, and that's no disrespect to Rockets fans. It's
Hmm.
just I'm calling it like how I see it.
Same here. Yeah.
The Knicks got hella forwards. Yeah, sure. Yeah, they
Uh-huh.
had hella forwards for the Rockets, all right. Jimmy buckets and Bam. Duality says Pete says if the Lakers, Clippers, or Bucks win, it would all honor Kobe because he has ties with Kawhi and Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's trained those guys as well. He's worked out with them in the offseason. Okay, Milwaukee against the Miami Heat. I'm going with the Bucks in 7 games. I think this is going to 7. Miami may surprise Milwaukee. But I think when it comes down to it, I think the 3-point shooting of the Bucks are going to be a lot. It's going to be tough for Miami to overcome that. I also think both teams are very good defensively. These are two of the better defensive teams in the league.
Hmm.
But at least with the Milwaukee Bucks, they have the firepower to at least beat Miami. I have to see how Solomon Hill and Iguodala and Jay Crowder fit in with their new team, and especially because they only have 8 games. And then, like I mentioned about, because it's going to really depend on who they face once they come back. We also have to remember that George Hill is there, and I think if their health, his health is going to be key. Middleton and Bledsoe are gonna have to step up. It cannot just be Giannis. Giannis has to show that he can hit a consistent outside shot so that they don't build a wall in the paint so they can respect it. I'll answer you guys' questions in a second, guys. Um, but going back to what I was saying, I honestly think that it's gonna be key for Middleton and Bledsoe to step up because if they can step up, that gives Giannis confidence that he can trust those guys going into the next round. Because I think where the Bucks is going, are gonna really they're gonna be tested in that series, and then if they can get by them, the Eastern Conference Finals is gonna be their biggest test. Because if Giannis does not make the NBA Finals this year, I'm telling you right now, I don't see him staying in Milwaukee. I
Hmm.
don't see him staying in Milwaukee. People can say what they want that I don't think Giannis is going to leave and all that kind of stuff. I'm telling you, when you look at how Kevin Durant and LeBron James have won their championships, it's going to start to creep back in the back of his mind. And he slowly has had talks with Steph Curry when they've had opportunity. You don't think that quite possibly Giannis is going to go to Golden State? And I'm telling
I
you,
don't see
I
that. No
would.
way.
I don't look. I'm telling you, it's okay. If Giannis stays, great. But I'm telling you, in the back of my mind, I'm telling you, once he starts to see that he's now winning, even him winning MVPs, at what point do you start thinking, can I win with this roster? And trust me, that's going to creep up, even if he's in the Eastern Conference. And I would not let it pass by if he thinks about to the going to the Golden State Warriors. I would not pass it. I don't want him to go there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying again, to join Steph and Clay. I'm telling you, those kind of things are going to be in the back of his mind. Uh, but defensively, it's going to be very interesting, and I'm looking to see, you know, players like Bam. I'm also looking to see how Jimmy Butler performs in the fourth quarter. Uh, can he step up and turn it up a notch in the playoffs? Because he's been underwhelming in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
He's been underwhelming in the regular season. I think his leadership is getting good, but I think he's going to have to step up offensively and be a go-to guy if they're going to have that chance. Because Miami really hasn't had a go-to player really all season, so it's been interesting. But I think he's Jimmy Buckets is going to have to live up to his name if they're going to win this series. But I got the Bucks in seven, but it'll be close. Lewis, I'm going with Giannis on this one. I believe they beat Miami in six. I think Miami can push. Yeah, George Hill is going to be key for their health, especially with the fat losing. Lewis, the Hornets cooked them all game on 450 degrees. The Rockets stood no chance
Pretty
that night.
much, yeah.
Fire content, appreciate it. Are you streaming another video tonight? And to answer your question, I am. I'm doing greatest team against the greatest team of all time against greatest playoff team of all time. So make sure you guys smash the like and hit the subscribe for that one. Give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
All right, take your time.
So I just got information really quick, guys. I'm back. That Kevin Durant has just announced that he is not playing this year. I wouldn't. It
Okay.
wouldn't go past. It wouldn't go past me if he pulls off a surprise. But I think that. But I think that, in my personal opinion, I honestly believe, as he was saying, that he's not going to play. So we'll see. But to answer your question, Karam, yes, I'm streaming another video. So I'm gonna paste it in the chat. If you guys want to come to that video, hit the like button for this one. It's in the chat. The link to the video is in the chat. So just make sure you guys pull up for that one and just make sure you hit it. It's right there. Um, is the man burning up over here? I disagree. What are you disagreeing on? Giannis has something to prove this year.
Exactly. He needs to be dominant in the playoffs. He hasn't had a dominant playoff run. Just last year, he just got out the first round. Just last year.
Wait, what are you trying to say? He said not after they traded Durant. Are you saying going back to if you're saying going back to Oklahoma City? I don't see Durant going back to Oklahoma City. He made it adamantly clear that he's not coming back. But in terms of basketball playing this year, Durant said himself that he's not coming back. I just said that it wouldn't surprise me if he pulled off a surprise and did come back. That's what you're saying. Um, Kid Glory says, I hate to say it, Anthony, but Lewis is right. Giannis might be gone depending on that's what he's saying, disagreeing on. Got you. Giannis might be gone depending on what he does this year. I'm just telling you because I feel like that might creep into the back of his mind. I can see Giannis going to Toronto to play with his
That's
African
another
brothers.
facts, Anthony L. That's I forgot to mention that. I just don't see Giannis being. I don't think Giannis wants to build a super team in Golden State. Him going to Toronto would make sense if Morgan doesn't go far because Toronto has the depth and he loves Masai Ujiri.
That's true. And then remember, Pascal Siakam is there, another African brother as we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So he said he could see Giannis going to Toronto. Besides Masai Ujiri, not going to let Giannis go to the Warriors. I mean, yeah. I mean, hey, listen, I'm not ruling that out. It's possible that Giannis could go to Toronto, and it would be crazy that he would go to a rival, a team that he faced in the Eastern Conference Finals up against Kawhi Leonard. It'd be interesting. But I still think either way, the fact that if Giannis doesn't stay in the Milwaukee, they're going to look at him as a traitor no matter where he goes because it's gonna be like, yo, you went to the team that knocked you off out of the playoffs in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then if you go to the Warriors, oh, you're helping Steph Curry and them. It's like you're gonna become hated once again. And then it's like if LeBron's got to deal with that, let's say, then it's gonna be like, oh man, just when I thought that I'm not dealing with somebody else, now I got to deal with another player that's considered the best, arguably like in the game when it's talking about top five and stuff like that. So, I'm not saying like the best player, just for that. So, like I said, guys, the link for the next video is in the chat if you guys want to want to go that. I'm actually going to push that stream a little bit back just to give some time so that we can finish this video. Um, so I'm going to push that a bit to 10:30. Let's see. So getting back to what I was saying, again, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button for the Lewis Sports Network. We got 20 likes. We got 14 people watching. Let's get the lights up. Hopefully somebody or some people can subscribe to the channel. Um, I will head out. I will see you then. All right, perfect, man. Sounds good. Shout out to Karam, and I'll see you then. That would be the ultimate cheat code, Giannis and Steph. Oh, I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
you. That's why I said I'm not gonna. That's why I said that. Even though you might not think that he might not go there, I can't rule that out. So I got to think about that in the back of my mind. Shout out to Washington News in the building. Uh, I, Ron says I think the Bucks will win, but like I mentioned, the Bucks play the regular season intensely, and they don't have another level to go to. And Middleton can be the second option on a championship team. Well, here's the benefit now. They've been resting. So because that they haven't really been able to go all out now, the Bucks
Mm-hmm.
don't really have an excuse now because they've been resting. So they will have a chance to practice, obviously, but they have not they haven't had to exert that kind of energy now. So I think that now Milwaukee's rested. So they don't have excuses now. And are they really gonna? And if I'm Budenholzer, they really should not be going all intensity out. Uh, in the regular season. I think what they need to do is they need to secure the number one spot as quickly as they can. And once they do that, in terms of best record in the league, rest their players, and then they'll be good and ready. But have their players not play a lot, like keep them in rhythm. You don't want them to be resting too long because if they rest too long, then it might not bode well in terms of how rustiness they're going to be in the postseason. So that will be something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all right, let me just keep looking. All right, take it easy, Karam. They've been the second most. He's been the second most consistent player though, but that's true. Someone else needs to step up for Milwaukee. You know, Giannis is coming. Okay, see, we done. I was talking about how Golden State treated Durant. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, got
Mm-hmm.
you. Yeah, no, I know he's not coming back there. Yeah, if the Toronto Raptors get Giannis Antetokounmpo, they weaken Milwaukee. That's one,
Mm-hmm.
and Toronto becomes a huge powerhouse in the East, and then the Eastern Conference team that was lower takes a step up, and like a team like the Washington Wizards, it's kind of like they almost become an automatic eight seed in a sense. And Anthony says if Giannis is a free agent, then the fans got to keep the same energy because if another superstar was to leave a different organization to come to Milwaukee, the same fans would say how he a free agent. Lewis, that's why it's interesting this year because no of the title contending teams have an excuse. None because they're all resting.
Exactly.
They're all resting. So Ron would be exactly right if the regular season had been still going on and we'd be in the playoffs right now. But because the fact that they're resting, it's a bit different. No team has an excuse. Not the Clippers, not the Lakers, even though obviously the fans are gonna have one, but they don't got an excuse. Um, all right, so now let's go into the 2 versus 7 matchup in the second round, which would be the Los Angeles Lakers against the Houston Rockets. Who do you have in that series?
I like the beard. I like Russ, but let's be realistic. Bron and AD would kick these guys' butt in 5 games. Okay, five. I got Lakers in five in that series. They have more talent. They have more depth. They have better bigs. The Rockets shooting is so inconsistent. The Rockets they just choke in the playoffs. The Lakers have more guys who can perform in the playoffs. I gotta go with the Lakers in five. Frank Vogel has actually been to 2 conference finals and nearly beat LeBron nearly beat the Heat back in 2013, and took LeBron the Heat to 6 games in 2014. But I gotta be realistic. I gotta go Lakers in five. And the Rockets have no big man to counter AD, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee in the post. They have no one to stop LeBron in the low post. And listen, I'm not trying to be a LeBron fanboy, but LeBron is a way better playoff performer than James Harden. I got Lakers in five in that series against the Rockets.
All right. And I'm gonna go with that sentiment with G Money. I think the Lakers will win in 5 games. I just don't. Uh, AD's gonna dominate. The Rockets are too small, and I think the Lakers will make adjustments to their small ball. So I just think that that's gonna really hurt Houston. Houston's best bet. And like I said, I just feel like the coaching of Frank Vogel is actually going to outcoach Mike D'Antoni in this one. LeBron's been and like G Money said, LeBron has he's proven that he can perform in the playoffs. James Harden has just a little too many disappearing acts for me to say that he's going to show up in a big game. And even if Russell Westbrook has adjusted his game, I wonder how the Rockets are going to play against the Lakers come that second round. I just don't think that that small ball is just going to keep working because remember, Houston can be hot or cold. And you have to remember, if you live by the three, you die by the three.
Hmm.
Houston would have to be on fire in order for, and the Lakers, they're not a good 3 point defensive team. But if Houston misses enough threes, the Lakers are going to beat them easily. And also remember, the Lakers were down by double digits to Houston, and Kyle Kuzma showed up. So
Hmm.
Kyle Kuzma is an X factor. Houston does not have a third guy. It's just Harden and Westbrook. Who can that third guy be? And I just don't think the fact that with their off, I just think offensively, when I look at the structure of the Houston Rockets, I don't see them beating the Lakers. The Lakers have the inside play. They don't have anybody that can stop LeBron consistently. They don't have anybody that stop, um, AD consistently. So it's already that already hurts. And they're going to take away the foul calls from James Harden in that series too. I just wonder how they're going to be able to do that. Um, when it comes to small ball, I think Houston matches up better with the Lakers. But I think when it goes to the size factor, the Lakers they beat the Houston Rockets. And if I'm the Lakers, don't get baited into small ball because that's where I think that the Rockets can have them in trouble. That's where the Houston can get them in trouble. And if they're making shots, if you're the Lakers, do not allow the Houston Rockets to get you into playing your style. Make the Rockets play your style. You make them play your style, the Rockets are losing very easy in this series. And the thing is,
Hmm.
they treat them like Capella said, don't they don't have bigs. Um, and Mike D'Antoni, he's just plan A, plan A, plan A, plan A, plan A. When his plan A doesn't work, he doesn't have a plan B to go to. So that's why I feel like the Lakers will beat the Rockets in a gentleman's sweep in 5 games. I don't see it going six. The Rockets would have to get crazy hot from the 3 point line in order for me to say that they'll go to six.
Hmm.
I don't see it. I got the Lakers in five. The Lakers will win in five. Frank Vogel might be the coach of the year. Some guys have got them. Anthony's got six.
Possible.
Joel got six. Kid has got in five. That's my pick.
Me too.
I don't think Houston's good enough to win 2 games. Me personally, I would be a little disappointed at the Lakers if the Houston Rockets beat the Lakers. I mean, pushes them to 6 games.
Hmm.
Houston matches up with the Lakers to him. Okay. Houston doesn't have the defenders, and they traded away Capella, and they've had also some injuries. And Ron says he's had a hard time seeing the Houston Rockets beating the Lakers, so he agrees with you, G Money.
Hmm.
Uh, duality, the Lakers in 7 games. I don't think Houston is that deep enough to push them to 7 games. They do match up well, but the Lakers aren't losing to Houston. That would be tragic for LeBron, and he won't go out like that. And LeBron and Davis will do more than enough. And like I said, I think if the Lakers force Houston to play to their style, I don't think the Rockets will beat them. If the
Hmm.
Rockets can stretch the floor with those 3 point shooting, they can extend the series. The Lakers would have to keep Westbrook out of the paint where he's effective. Yeah, they're gonna have to. And the thing is, remember, Russell's not a good 3 point shooter. So the more threes you force Russell to take, the better it is for your defense. And it goes back to what Ron said. It's the key that D'Antoni does not have a plan B to go to. That's why I don't see the Rockets winning this, pushing the Lakers that deep. They're gonna have to get really hot from three.
Hmm.
Honestly, the Lakers and LeBron should win in five. Anything past five is not a look good because Houston really isn't a threat. It's true. I still got the Lakers winning. Yeah, I just feel like the Houston Rockets, for me, they're a one-dimensional basketball team.
Same
But
here,
that's
man.
going to be the key. Covington, yeah. No, it was a good pickup. Don't get me wrong, Anthony. But like I said, it's on D'Antoni's game plan. How long is it going to last? I don't see it lasting that long. They're just too damn small for the Lakers. And like I said, the Lakers, they allowed the Houston Rockets to dictate the pace. All the Lakers have to do is dictate the pace, and I don't see the Rockets winning that series.
Same.
Yeah, that's my question. I don't know about the close games thing. When it comes to Harden and thing, uh, that's the thing. And shout out to Awo Inua. He says if you're playing against the Lakers and LeBron, you're gonna have to play against the refs too. That's another point too.
That's true.
Harden won't get as many calls as he's used to. I call it a 4 game sweep. Okay, he's going sweep.
Very
Okay. I
possible.
said
Very possible.
I said gentleman sweep, but he's going sweep. Okay. Going bold predict. I mean that's cool too.
Hmm.
I'm down with that. Shout out to a wall. And if you haven't, man, make sure to hit the like button and hopefully subscribe to the channel, man. But definitely appreciate your input on that. I could definitely see a 4 game sweep because Harden, and remember, his game also predicates on the refs. And if he doesn't get those calls, it's going to kill his confidence, and he's going to be shooting a lot more. So that's what I said. A lot of factors. Westbrook will have to utilize the mid-range game a little more and take less threes. That to me is going to be the key as well. Can he utilize the mid-range? Can he? Freddie Gee, exactly. People act like they aren't two MVP players. It's not the fact that they're two MVP players. People keep going two MVP players. MVP players. I'm talking about play style. Their
Hmm.
play style to me isn't going to be good enough to be able to carry them to 2 victories. Not against that Laker team. I
No
just
way.
don't see it. I just don't see it. If
Same here.
PG Middleton and AD win Finals MVP and LBJ Leonard and Giannis don't even play in the finals, what would that mean for their legacies? Well, remember, Leonard plays with PG, Middleton plays with Giannis, and AD plays with LeBron. So,
That's
uh,
kind of a dumb question there if you watch for news. Like PG plays with the Claw, Middleton suits up with Greek Freak, and 80 and Braun are Laker buddies. So it's like that's kind of a dumb question. No offense.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, if you was saying that, not sure. Oh, didn't know that. Oh, okay. He said he's been sub for a long time. Oh, didn't know that. It's just first time hearing from RB's channel. Hey, man, appreciate it. Keep up the grind. Shout out to you, Anwar. And if you can, let others know about the channel. And if you haven't hit the like, just make sure to hit the like. And I appreciate you being a sub. Appreciate that, man. Just let others know about the channel. Share it on your social media, any of your social media outlets. But thank you so much, man. I appreciate the input, no doubt. Like I said, I'm not saying that these guys aren't MVP players, man. Freddie, I could see it, but the Lakers will want to win that series as fast as possible. But Houston can make it interesting. Not saying that Houston's not capable of making it interesting, but they will have some crazy big games. Both are capable of putting up 40-point triple doubles in the playoffs. The question is, are the Lakers going to allow it? That's the question. If they allow it, then I can see that series going 6 games.
Hmm.
That's the key. If they allow it, I can see it. Uh, that doesn't mean anything to Kawhi resume wise. He's already been proven. Westbrook gets calls like a G League floater. Watchwell says before you run your mouth and think, what if those three players, teams win the chip without them?
Hmm.
But that would have to be if those guys get. But that would have to be if those guys get injured, though. If LeBron or Kawhi or those guys get injured, that would have to be the key, though. Or if they struggle in this series and those guys play up to the level, play up and they raise up their games. But that's going to be only if. I guess if you're trying to say it that way, because it just sounded kind of confusing when you were saying it that way, Marshall. That's all I'm saying. Harden gets way more calls, and Westbrook is actually aggressive. The problem is we're talking about the playoffs. In the regular season, Harden is averaging 10 to 11 free throw attempts a game. They're not as high in the playoffs. So we're going to see. AD is the best player on the Lakers. Yeah, he is.
Clearly.
Yeah, he is. I heard that Harden dropped quite a few pounds. I'm interested in seeing what effect it has on his game. I heard he looks skinny, and that kind of concerns me a little bit. Even the Lakers will still find a way to beat Houston, even if they get those triple doubles. Fact, it's not sweet. It's not sweet. Lakers aren't as good as their record indicates. Their offense is inconsistent, and their defense took a step off. Oh, okay. You're saying if they're injured. Oh, okay. Oh, if you would have said that, then I would have understood your point. Okay, he's saying if they're injured. That would have, yeah. I mean, if they're injured, I mean, look, for Kawhi, it's gonna be like, yo, if it wasn't for Paul George, with that, Middleton is going to be, well, Giannis is a superstar if it wasn't for Chris Middleton, and then with LeBron if it wasn't for AD. But remember, when it comes to LeBron, the media is going to spin the narrative. So that's going to be The issue with the Lakers though is their 3-point defense, and they do
Mhm.
have moments where they're complacent, but they are number one in points per game allowed. But the thing is, the anchor is Anthony Davis, JaVale McGee, Avery Bradley at the guard position. You know, to It's a good debate. To be honest, guys, I don't even know how we're even going to enjoy watching an NBA game with all of this violence and chaos in the streets and the president who's literally. Thing is, Anthony L, I'm going to look at it this way. So many people have been missing basketball that there's going to be some people that are honestly going to be really ignorant to what's going on because they would rather have see sports. And what the media has been saying is that sports is a definite way to on. This is what the media is saying. This is what Jalen Rose was saying. He says he feels like sports is going to be a way for it to move on. I don't see it that way, but they're just trying to paint this happy-go-lucky picture that we're going to be fine as a country. But it's like if people remember, look at the comments that Drew Brees just had, and how potentially that could be harming, and now NFL players are protesting. There's just a lot going on for me. But the thing is, people are going to stay tuned anyway because there's just remember. You also have to remember about the younger generation. A lot of the younger generation, they're restless, man. It's like you can easily get their minds, man. They're gonna want their basketball, and
Mhm.
they're so tired of all the topics. They're tired of what's going on. It's like they don't really care about that, Because I agree with you, Anthony. It's important, but they're not gonna care about that. They care about sports. They could care less about what's going on in the world, even if it meant, um, and I'm not saying everybody's like that. I'm just saying the people who think that way, uh, that would rather rather pay attention to sports than really pay attention to the issues that are going on in society. So that's how I see it, man. Um, what you call it, and let me just go into the comment section. And Freddie Gee says that LeBron has his help with AD, but I'm kind of spooked. Dumb. It's a lot. Freddie Gee is giving LeBron an ultimatum this year. He said if they don't get it done, this is on LeBron. Like I said, you already know that I'm telling you that the excuses are in. They were in from the start of this season, and I, and
Mhm.
and you know LeBron got Davis for him. It was able to make the trade for him. They traded so he has his dominant number two. So the key thing is, I mean, also it's on Anthony Davis because you have to also remember that he's going to be crucial for going to the playoff run because people are questioning can Anthony Davis be that go-to player alongside LeBron James to be able to get it done. The problem is that what's been going on is that the way I see it is that Anthony Davis could get his numbers without LeBron. But what I will give LeBron credit for is that Anthony Davis has gotten some easier baskets when LeBron is facilitating giving AD, some easier baskets. So, so definitely help. But the problem is that people, to be honest, duality says that the NBA, why is it not working? The NBA was actually pretty bad this year overall. Too many teams in transition and rebuilding. Kid Glory says, yeah, it will be strange because so much going on, and we still have, that currently, which is true. Shout out to Atlanta Thomas.
Mhm.
They said Kawhi is possibly chunky now. That's not good. Kid Glory says Drew got booed to death in New Orleans for that comment he made. The thing with Drew, uh, like I said with Drew, Drew Brees, I kind of deleted the video that I wanted to do on him, but I'm gonna just say this real quick on Drew Brees. Listen, Drew has done a lot for the community in New Orleans. And he has to understand a lot of blacks in New Orleans, they support Drew Brees. They're huge fans of Drew Brees. And the thing with Drew Brees does, it has to do more so with the flag, with Colin Kaepernick than the protest of George Floyd. And the thing was is that if you look, the thing is if you listen to Drew Brees, and I listened to what he said, Drew Brees started out fine in his comments. It was up until he mentioned about the flag and he made it about the American flag. And then he was talking about his fathers and grandfathers. And it's like, well, Drew Brees, you need to also understand that there were African Americans who fought for the right for freedom as well. The ones that fought in the Filipino American War, the ones that fought in World War One and World War Two because there were African soldiers there, the ones that fought in the Vietnam War, the Union against the Confederates in the Civil War. And did those guys get a hero's welcome? And the answer is no. And so when and that's what people are kind of missing the point for Drew Brees. Now, in defense of Drew Brees, I'm gonna say this: he does not deserve people saying that he deserves to get like killed and all that kind of stuff. That's extreme, and I think the burning of the jerseys to me is extreme too. Would you be outraged? Yeah, I get it to a certain degree, but I just think going on him like that to me was not fair to him. Uh, because of this, some people are divided. Some people say that people think that Drews has a right to his opinion, and then there's other people who say, well, quite honestly, Drew is saying that because he knows that he's playing with a lot of African American teammates. That the NFL is 70% African American. He also knows that he had to apologize because he knew the backlash he was going to get after that. And the thing is, look, he has a lot of people on the networks outraged. I mean, so even you even have whites going against what Drew Brees said. So it's difficult and it's something that unfortunately that him, his wife, his family's got to deal with. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. Lakers struggled against upper echelon teams this year, man. There's no way in the hell the Bucks should have beaten them. You know, I keep saying that I just think that in terms of the way that the Bucks are constructed against the Lakers and the Clippers, I don't see the Bucks beating them, especially with the fact that Giannis does not have another dominant player. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying when it comes to the Eastern Conference, the Bucks can definitely get to the finals. They can definitely get there. Um, Dang, I didn't know. Shout out to Winnett. I didn't know he was quite chunky. Now the Bucks are capable of beating anybody. From
Mhm.
Jake, Jake from came out the closet as a racist. Us Georgia fans already knew that though. They had it written down already. They know what's up. Yep. Uh, I'm gonna have to screenshot that, Freddie G. The Bucks aren't even a championship caliber team. They are balling in a down year in that weak conference. The East has gotten a little bit stronger, but it's still weak. I'm still
Mhm.
saying that. Anthony L. It's always on Braun, man. This ain't nothing new. Well, you got to listen to the media because according to them, it ain't on Braun. Certain members of the media, it's not on him, including his friends that work on these networks. They
Mhm.
really trying to rob Giannis of the MVP. Yeah, they said that because of the 2 games that LeBron played, and you know what's going to be even worse? Now they have 8 games. So let's say LeBron plays well in those 8 games. They're probably going to give him the MVP,
Mhm.
and Giannis will get robbed. Now, if I'm Giannis, I would try to focus on getting the championship. And let's say that Giannis and the Bucks win the NBA championship, then Giannis can brag about the MVP all he wants. If I'm Giannis, I would focus on the NBA title because what's going to happen is that if you focus on that MVP award, they're going to treat you like they treated James Harden when it came to your narrative when you won the MVP. So I would like, if I'm Giannis, focus on getting that ring. Like, don't even worry about the MVP talk. And Giannis is the MVP for me. I didn't know that. And Dabo made a racial comment years ago to a player. Wow. I don't think that Braun deserves 100% of the blame for his losses. It's more like 70-30 or 65-35, depending on the situation.
Yeah, I agree with Freddie Gay on that. Like I know,
Well, yeah.
forget,
Go ahead, Jim.
forgive me
Go
for
ahead,
this.
Jim.
Forgive me for this. I know Freddie Gee thinks I quote unquote hate LeBron, which I don't, but I do agree with Freddie. Like, listen, LeBron does deserve a lot of blame for the 2011 finals. The '07 finals, some blame. The 2014 finals, some blame. The 2015 finals, not much blame. The 2017 and 18 finals, some blame. Listen, I do agree with Freddie that Braun doesn't deserve a whole lot of blame though. The only 100% of the blame that I can say was the 2011 finals. Other than that, he deserves some blame, but not too much for every other finals he lost.
Yeah. I'm not gonna get too much into LeBron. My just issue is the media plants that he has act like it's not his fault. That's only really been my issue. And the thing is also sometimes Bron does not take the onus. Like if you listen to his at times when he talks to the media, he talks at times like he has an excuse. And I'm like, LeBron, if you're I'm saying if you're somebody who calls himself Muhammad Ali and that you're a social activist and all that kind of stuff, then you have to show your leadership and hold yourself accountable. And I'm saying that the media helps him. That's why that's why I said that LeBron kind of feeds off of the media. I'm not saying it's completely his fault. I'm just saying take responsibility for the mistakes you made. LeBron
Hmm.
doesn't do that, and that gives the media more clout to give him a pass. That's my
True.
issue. But I'm not saying that it's all LeBron's fault. I just hate the fact that the media makes excuses and then Bron hides himself under that. It's just the
Hmm.
people that call him out on his excuses are the ones that just kind of tendency call themselves haters. If you look at it from a context standpoint, I'm not saying that it's all LeBron's fault. And obviously, there's levels to it. I just hate the fact that the media, they just say, well, what was he supposed to do? This and this and this. And I'm like, no, there's blame that he's supposed to have. It's just when he does it, he doesn't take responsibility. And he says,
Uh,
out of this, this, and this. I'm sorry, but it happens.
I agree. But you want me to read the next comment, Lewis?
Which one?
All right. Freddie Gee says, "Duality, you unlimited." Some people say the East was a whole lot better since Braun left. I gotta debunk this narrative. Listen, it wasn't just LeBron leaving. Okay. First of all, Philadelphia had Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris and etc. last year. Milwaukee got better when they added new talent. Toronto added Danny Green, Marcus Gasol, and Kawhi Leonard. Okay, Boston they were still kind of inconsistent, but they had Kyrie and Gordon Hayward healthy. It wasn't just LeBron leaving the East. It's also the fact that during LeBron's Eastern Conference, nobody in the East had a true chance of winning a championship. Let's be realistic, okay? Even if LeBron had stayed in Cleveland last year, they were not going to the finals because the East was more improved. You know what I mean?
No, I said that the East has improved. I wouldn't say that it got a whole lot better. That to me is I wouldn't say that it's a whole lot better because if you look at that bottom of the Eastern Conference, like it's really not competitive. If you look at the West, you have four teams in the West that are vying with the Grizzlies for that eighth and final playoff spot. So that still
Mm-hmm.
lets you know that the East is still weak. It just
Mm-hmm.
slightly got better because now you have six teams in the East with damn near 40 wins. Like you
Mm-hmm.
didn't have that in prior years with LeBron in that Eastern Conference. So
Exactly.
that's the thing. That's really the thing. I'm not gonna say that. Oh no, it got so much better. No, no, that's not the case. It
All
got
right, it didn't
slightly
get
better.
better, but okay, it didn't get super better, but it's clearly more improved now compared to LeBron's time. Yeah.
Okay, you can't fault them for dominating the other elite teams. Okay, duality. I agree with Giannis is the top player in the East, and he has a solid squad. To me, I just feel like it's solid. I don't feel like it's a great squad. And duality kind of has a point when you're talking about in a more competitive conference. I don't think Milwaukee has that best record in the league, especially considering you're playing the West more times as compared to your own East. So I do kind of agree with that. It's improved. I'm not going to say it's better. Um, I hope LeBron will be in game shape. I mean, he has been getting in shape, but the fact that Kawhi's a little stocky, that kind of concerns me, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, man, the South is still racist. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. We know that, man. Lou, I can respect that. That's real. Yeah, yeah. I never said that the East was vastly improved, man. You look at those bottom teams and like, yo, it's a lot of bottom feeders in that Eastern Conference. But
True.
the fact that there's six teams with damn near 40 wins, that tells you that there's some improvement. Um, yeah, man, I don't know everything, and I always lean on something new, and I don't believe I know everything. I mean, yo, that's very honest, noble of you, kid. Also, I hope and pray that LeBron's mind is right mentally because he's really been stressing out on social media over the protests. This is why I wonder if we're rushing the NBA back too soon. You see, this is a very good point because I'm kind of thinking that if quite possibly, remember how we're all saying that there's no excuse because of how everybody's been resting, but I'm wondering if the social protest is going to be another thing to use in case if there's no wins and to say that a lot of this is on the mind because a lot of people have been saying, LeBron is going to win the chip. Mm, that's that
Mm-hmm.
that's mm, yeah, so that to me is kind of another factor. Freddie says those teams with 40 plus wins was getting beat down by Bron. Yeah, all right, okay, giving them a little too much credit there, buddy. Not
Like
saying he did, but
I said, I don't want to I don't want to start the war with Freddie Gee, but this is why I called him a you know what. That's just me though.
All right. Juanetta says, I wish the East gets strong again. I used to love watching the Eastern Conference play in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, yeah, man, the East was the powerhouse. The West was
Mm-hmm.
actually the weaker conference when in the time that Magic played in the 80s. There weren't that
Mm-hmm.
many strong teams in the West in the 80s. The West really started to become prominent and more so in the mid 90s. Um, and the East was really, really strong in the 80s. And for the most part, probably like I would probably say that East would probably say late early 90s to the pretty much close to the end. It was strong. Let's see. Okay, Glory, right. Stop it. They have a mediocre coach, MVP player, and an inconsistent chemistry. They are Giannis or bust. Okay, that's Pete's mentality. All right, there it is. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So the next matchup we are looking at the Toronto Raptors
Mm-hmm.
against the Denver Nuggets in the second round.
Mm.
Hmm, who you got? And because this is an East versus West matchup. It's funny how we got an East versus West matchup uh, uh, in the second round with the Toronto Raptors.
If you
Go ahead,
really,
man.
you may call me crazy here, but if you really think about it, if Denver did beat Portland, this could, I said could, have been an NBA Finals matchup. You never know. This could have been an
Right.
NBA Finals matchup last year if Denver had beat Portland with all the circumstances Golden State went through. But back to this year, I'm going to say this is a toughie. It's gonna go 7 games. I gotta go the Raps over the Nugs in 7 games. Nick Nurse is a better coach than Mike Malone. Spicy P, we haven't seen Spicy P as the number one guy yet, but I think Spicy P show his true will feast in the playoffs. Kyle Lowry shown that he was balling in the playoffs last year. I like Jamal Murray, but Kyle Lowry is a better player than Jamal Murray. All right. No way. Jokic is going to do his thing, but Jokic needs to be dominant in the playoffs. Like I said, the Raptors have more guys who can prove themselves, like Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka, who else? Fred Van Fleet, who was on fire from the Milwaukee series all the way to the Golden State series. So I'm going to say Toronto in 7 over Denver, and the Nuggets will get extinct by the Raptors.
Okay. I see this going 6 games. Um, let me just go into the comments real quick. Juanetta says that's an excuse because LeBron ain't on the front lines to be stressed out. Yep. So does everyone else, dude. The Lakers have LeBron, and that's it. I don't dislike LeBron. I just don't like all the BS that's around him.
Same here, Ron.
I'm going with Toronto in 5 games over the Denver Nuggets. Wow. You
Mm,
can't be serious. LeBron, AD, Rondo, Howard, JaVale Kuzma, and Danny Green. I'm going to say this. The Toronto Raptors will beat the Denver Nuggets, I believe, in 6 games. It's possible that the Nuggets can push them to 7. I just think the Raptors, to me, are the better coached team.
mm-hmm,
I also think that they have the thing is they have the firepower to play fast and play in the half court. So they're a little bit more structured than the Nuggets. The Nuggets have more question marks as to who's going to step up. And I feel like in this series, this is for me, this is a series that's tailor made for the Toronto Raptors because they don't have to deal with going up against a superstar. If they were dealing with a team like the Lakers, then I would have to kind of I'd be a little bit worried just for the fact because they don't have really anybody consistently other. Well, they could put some bodies at LeBron, but I just wonder how they would guard him. But
mm-hmm.
or Clippers with a Kawhi Leonard. But I think that this is a series to me that uh, I have the Raptors winning in 6 games. I think the Raptors are much and you have again. I also go back to this. There's no home field advantage. Both teams don't have to worry about much. It's for a lot of teams, but and again, it still goes with back to matchups. But I think that this is gonna. Um, I'm gonna say that I got the Toronto Raptors moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals in well, actually, we would just have to call it the conference finals because we can't even say East or West. I just have them moving on to the conference finals against the Denver Nuggets, and I have to say that the Raptors will beat them in 6 games. Moving on,
Mm-hmm.
so we got the Bucks and the Raptors advancing. Now we had the Lakers advancing, right? Correct. So now
Yeah,
we have the Los Angeles Clippers against the Boston Celtics. Who you got, G Money, in that series? How long
that's
does
a
it go? Who wins and how long?
that's a 6 or 7 game series, but I gotta go with the Clippers, man. I just think that the Clippers. Here's that one factor: the claw, Kawhi Leonard. I like the Celtics. They have a fun young team, but the Clippers are going to clip the Green Leprechauns in Boston. I'm just saying that you have a guy in Kawhi Leonard who has shown that he can get it done in the playoffs, and even Montrezl Harrell, he was awesome in the Golden State series last year. The reason why I think the Celtics could push the Clippers is because the Clippers, like I said, other than Kawhi and Harold, they have too many guys who I have questions if they can be consistent in the playoffs. Same thing with the Celtics. Can Jalen Brown be consistent in the playoffs? Can Jason Tatum be consistent in the playoffs? Kemba will be fine, but remember, the dude has only won 3 playoff games in his whole career. And Doc Rivers is just a better coach than Brad Stevens. So I'm going to go Clippers in 6 over the Celtics. 6.
Okay. When I look at the Toronto, I mean, I said almost the Toronto Raptors. When I look at the Los Angeles Clippers against the Boston Celtics have good chemistry. My question is now, Jason Tatum playing against an elite team like the Los Angeles Clippers, who are title contenders, is he going to be able to step up?
Mm-hmm.
Kemba, I'm looking to see how Kemba Walker's going to be because now he is going to be playing. He's gonna have it tough because they have a lot of guys they can throw at him as well, and Jason Tatum. They can really switch that they're deep. We also have to remember about Joakim Noah, and
Mm-hmm.
remember DeMarcus Cousins is still out there. The
Mm-hmm.
Clippers could pick him up, and the thing is, if they get him, not only do they have the inside scoring, but they got the shot blocking with Joakim because he played very well with Memphis last year, and he doesn't really have to produce in like so many minutes. And he's been able to work out. So I think that if this is possible, I just think the Clippers are just deeper. I think that they're a little bit more hungry than Boston.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that Boston to me just doesn't have enough. They lack a consistent go-to player. Yes, Jason Tatum has stepped up, but can he take that elite step? The Clippers are better defensively than Boston. And I think Doc Rivers will outcoach. He doesn't even necessarily have to outcoach Brad Stevens, but I just think that the Clippers they just have the better team. Deep, they have the six man in Lou Will. They can just beat. They can put different lineups out there. That's what's really going to hurt. I just think the versatility of the Clippers is really going to hurt Boston, and I don't think Gordon Hayward is going to be able to step up at the level that I think that he should be able to, especially a guy that's coming off an injury and has been inconsistent and has a big contract. So I think that plays a factor. What's going on in the streets is affecting at the whole league. I hope Adam Silver and the Players Association know what they're doing. There's so much hatred right now in this country. Agreed. I agree. That's that. And the thing is, it's not that I don't want basketball back. I just my issue with all of this and the timing of everything is what's going on. There's still people protesting out there. So that's why I'm just saying that I just have to be careful. And it's what you said, Anthony, and what Renetta was talking about. I feel like that this whole, and we've all been saying it, that there's really no excuse with the fact that people have been resting. But at the same time, if a team was to lose, the social protesting might be used as an excuse depending. And we already know how the league is with LeBron, especially the media. I know they're going to use that as an excuse, and they're going to say he had so much on his mind, and everybody predicted he was going to win. There's no excuse for Kawhi Leonard, but again, we already know that. I wonder if they're going to use the excuse. So I just wonder, depending on the team, what team is going to use the excuse though.
Mm-hmm.
Where were Bledsoe and Middleton in the Eastern Conference Finals last year? That's my issue with the Bucks. Are those guys going to show up? That's the key. That's the key. If they don't show up, I'm sorry. It's not gonna be for Giannis to go to the finals. Toronto is good defensively, stopping the opponent's best player at all costs, daring the role players to beat them, which is why I think that they're going to beat Denver. But that means PG is a playoff performer. Also, he made it twice to the Eastern Conference Finals. Joe Kim took that final roster spot. Also, he has a last roster spot. I see. Okay, Silver said the playoff format is going to be the same as it always has been. He told TNT that he had a talk with MJ, and MJ said keep it familiar in spite of all this chaos. So I guess they're going with that traditional 8 versus 8 format, which is good.
True.
I don't like that 1 versus 16. But we're here on the Lewis Sports Network. We're just doing the 116 if there was the hypothetical. So we're just
Hmm.
going off of that. So that's why I wanted to bring this live stream to see what it would be like if they decided to do uh the 1 versus 16 format. So that's why here on the Lewis Sports Network, I thought to twist it up. But I like the fact that they're keeping it the traditional format. That's good. That's good.
Hmm.
Um, okay. Um, so what would the format be like it is now or no? It's going to be the traditional 8 versus 8. Clippers versus Celtics would be a dope series. I thought Boogie had beef with the Clips. They don't know. I think the Clippers will beat Boston. They can match up pretty well and can crank it up defensively, and Kawhi can be the difference on both sides of the ball. I
Hmm.
agree. I don't think you are comprehending what you are saying. You sound like you don't have a clue right now, so I won't comment to you for the rest of the night. Okay. A playoff performer isn't someone who makes a conference finals. It's someone who consistently puts up numbers in the playoffs on a yearly basis. Anyone can make a conference finals. Well, I have a little bit of a problem with that statement. Not just anybody. And not just anybody can make a conference final. Your team has to be good enough to go that deep, and you
Hmm.
have to be able to perform at that level with that team to get that deep.
Hmm.
And you have to also remember, it sometimes depends on the matchup. You
Hmm.
can run into the wrong matchup, and you can lose before you get there. So there's
True.
context to that. Not just anybody can make the finals, kid. I mean, make the conference finals. There's context. Okay, now we get to the final four.
Hmm.
We got to the final four. So we got the Clippers. We have the oh, wow. So check this out.
Hmm.
Now that we go to the Final Four, the Los Angeles Lakers would play the Toronto Raptors in the conference finals, and the
Hmm.
Milwaukee Bucks would play the Clippers in the conference finals. Wow. That means that Kawhi Leonard rematches with Giannis Antetokounmpo,
Yeah.
and the Lakers play the Toronto Raptors. So let's start with the 2 versus 3 matchup. Lakers versus Raptors. Who wins and in how many?
I gotta go LeBronto. I gotta go with the Lakers in five over the Raptors. Lakers in five. Here's why. Le- I'm trying not to sound like a Bron sexual. I'm trying not to, but forgive me for this. LeBron owns the Raptors when it doesn't involve Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green, etc. I know he lost to the Raptors this year. The Lakers lost to the Raptors this year when Spicy P and Lowry were not there in LA when they were injured. But listen, LeBron is going to come out guns blazing. AD is going to come out guns blazing. Avery Bradley. This is a series that you can see Avery Bradley step it up. You have Dwight Howard who's going to play like himself. You have JaVale McGee who's going to give him some good minutes. Look, Nick Nurse is a better coach than Frank Vogel, but I just think that the Lakers' firepower and talent alone will get past the Raptors in five. And again, the Lakers have two go-to guys. You have Anthony Davis and Braun. For the Raptors, you have only a Spicy P. Kyle Lowry is not a go-to guy in big moments of the playoffs sometimes. And Fred VanVleet is okay, but is he really a go-to guy in the crunch time? I don't know about that. So I'm gonna go with the Lakers and five over the Raptors, and LeBronto will strike again.
Okay, I'm gonna make this short and sweet when it comes to that. I pretty much have the Lakers winning this series in. Actually, I think the Lakers will win in 6 games. I got the Lakers winning in 6. I think the Raptors are good enough to win in. I'm sorry, I said the Raptors are good enough to push the Lakers in